YouTube, it's Brad Phillips. We're gonna open this box right now. It's gonna be amazing. It's like deja vu in a different home at a different time. Oh, it's the Rare Bear from Durafly. Amazing. 680 millimeters of the legendary Reno Racer. Okay. My last Reno Racer ended in crying and tears. But it was really fun when it lasted. It was actually very good. And so I'm excited to see what Durafly is doing with this because the last couple planes we've had from Hobby King have been pretty good. So that's awesome. The last one we did was the Avios Twin Otter, which was awesome. So if you guys haven't seen that, check it out. BrianPhillipsRC.com will get you there. BPRC.me if you don't know how to spell. We're gonna just cut this open right now. Packaging is a little bit improved from previous packaging. Not that I really care that much about the packaging. Like I said, this comes as a plug and play. So we're gonna have to provide a receiver. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Motor's 3536, 1700 kV brushless outrunner. Looks like the weight, this of course is gonna be naked, 1.8 pounds. And then 4 channels. You've seen a 4-channel receiver, which we're not gonna be doing that. That would be ridiculous. And the motor is 3536. I think I might have said that wrong. But anyway, it's almost the same dimensions lengthwise and widthwise. So this of course is like a pylon racer plane. And I think this one is a hand launch, but we're gonna find out really quick. And as you can see, our living room is just busted at the seams. We're gonna be coming back to having a living room soon enough because we're almost done with our project. Okay, cool. So let's check it out in here. Packaging is really stout, really strong frame. Pull things out one at a time. Nice foam on foam with plastic to protect the foam from the foam, which is nice. And as you can see, mostly assembled and looks really, really detailed, way more detailed than what I remember. Ball length adapters here. And this is a jigged and painted line with a decal. Really nice alignment too. And I gotta say, that is a clean install for being a Hobby King product. Good Lord. Look at this, even this, you'd never get finished like that from a Hobby King before. And the rivets are gorgeous. And beautiful canopy cockpit area. A little bit disappointed they don't have something inside of there. It seems like a miss to me, but not a big deal, obviously. And look how strong that is, but it feels still light on its feet. And this has the motor and everything in it. Now, how do you get inside of this thing? Does it even open?
Yeah, there's a little tab for the canopy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's so tight, I couldn't even tell. That's awesome, guys. That is a great problem to have. Oh, yeah. Laser cut. Looks like probably basswood. Strong.
It says CG right there.
Oh, nice. They put the CG right inside. Sweet. Okay. And then this is going to fly on battery with an XT60 equipped end. Looks like we have the throttle, and then probably that is the servo that goes to the, I'm assuming that's the elevator, but I guess we'll find out. I'm not 100% sure. It could be the rudder, could be the elevator, and then a little bit of wood to reinforce this. So obviously a stiff plane is going to tend to fly a little bit better, which is kind of nice, but a stiff plane will also break a little bit quicker, and so the higher density foam is a bit of a trade-off in that regard. Beautiful tail feathers. Horizontal stabilizer here. It's already open, I don't have to cut it, that's kind of nice. And they used, instead of carbon fiber, they used a fiberglass here. I'm sure they were trying to save cost on that, but it also doesn't show up in there. And look at the molding, it's just very clean, very smooth. Like, very surprising. A little bit of give here. The elevator portion is actually pretty soft, but the actual wing portion is strong. And it looks like they have some sort of an embedded feature here. Maybe that is carbon fiber. But look how tight the plastic is. That is beautiful. And then screws that go through and hold the top plate to the bottom plate, which is nice. A little bit of give on that. Very fast planes, you don't want a lot of give, but it's got a little bit of softness to it. So I can appreciate that. A little bit more likely to not be destroyed. Don't fold my manuals. I don't like that. Put them in there some other way if you can avoid it. But it looks like the dimensions of this might be kind of hard to put it on the side. They might slip out of the box. But full disclosure, when manufacturers fold manuals, I don't like it. This is a quick start guide. Looks like the information is pretty reasonable. Hello and thank you. Flip it over. Is it the same on both sides? What is the difference?
It is.
Why do they print on both sides? It's very weird to duplex print that. Okay, so continuing along, we've got some loose ends here. Looks like probably for the motor, a little bit of Velcro, and some sort of servo protectors. Yeah, servo protectors, ball links, and some adhesive strips so we can put those on. Looks like it comes with some nice decals, high quality decals. It's got kind of a nice backing on it, Avios, H-King. I do like that they didn't apply these because I don't always like having all the branding labels on a plane, but I do like having nice decals. These have a matte finish to them. I don't know if that's good or bad. It looks like this has a nice finish to it. It doesn't look very matte though. Okay, and then there's something in here. I don't know what the heck this is. This might be unique to us, I wonder.
I don't know.
I don't know, we're gonna find out. We might have to pause if it's something special.
Okay.
It's not. That is pretty sweet actually, guys. Look at that.
It's like a little mini.
Yeah, it comes with a little mini one. That is so sweet. Okay, cool. By the way, we also have laser engraver, and we can cut stuff like this, which is pretty neat. So thank you for doing that. That is cool. That is neat. Okay. All right, and then looks like we've got the vertical stabilizer and rudder. The 9-gram servo looks ridiculously huge. So we'll see how this goes together. It feels like this is just a really basic mount of this fiberglass rod, but I love that it's got ball links and very nice high quality servo linkages and clevises. Look at this. We don't see stuff like that from Hobby King. But it's a super small apparatus. Okay, so there's just no getting around that. And look, they even press this in to protect the connector, which is really nice. And that is a long cable. That sucks. We got to drop that all the way through the fuselage. But it looks like it's a bolt together assembly. So this will be a pretty easy build. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we like to make the easy hard and the hard long. Okay. So here it is, the wing. Lots of dihedral. Should make it easy for stability. If you're gonna fly without a stabilizer, which we are not, because I just don't do that sort of nonsense. I know some of you are cringing and throwing things at the community monitors. Okay, so as you can see, the servos are coming out the top of the wing, which is pretty sweet. It does not mount this way, guys, I promise. They have some tape over this. Beautiful finish, guys. Really, really nice. This is gonna scrape off when it belly lands, though. And this is a belly lander, okay? So look, reinforced connection point. This, I feel how heavy that is. That is super light.
Wow, yeah.
And beautiful. I love it. I love the outboard ailerons. Obviously on the real ones, I don't think they would generally have flaps, but if you wanted to add flaps on this plane, you could do it because the wing design just would make it super easy. You could even do an interior sort of movement here and have the linkage come through underneath and then stick up, and you could pivot it like this and you'd make a really nice inboard flap, and a huge one at that. But my expectation is this thing should belly land pretty easy. Now keep in mind, guys, I like flaps because flaps widen the envelope of any plane you're flying. It doesn't matter what you're doing with that plane. I like being able to fly it slow, okay? No LEDs. I don't see an LED on there, okay? That's everything. There is a lot of empty space in this packaging. I don't know why it's quite so huge. Probably because the depth of this wing. So XYZ access, they made it as small as possible. Remember, if you have an oversized package, that means you wasted your money on shipping. So good job, Hobby King. This is an incredibly nice and clean setup. Look at the piece count.
I know.
That's what I like.
My favorite.
And guess what? I don't have to mount one stinking clevis.
Nope.
Which makes me smile from ear to ear, as well as I don't have to, I was gonna keep these bags in case we need them.
Oh, good. You
later.
should do that. We might need some garbage in the future.
Let's put it with the...
We don't make enough garbage regularly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, you can see there is a Y cable here, so that's nice. Thank you, manufacturers, for giving us Y cables. I like accessible Y cables. The only thing I don't like about Y cables, it's one more thing. The thing I love about Y cables is that I have the choice to split these out if I want to set up flaperons or spoilerons. Now, why would you set up flaperons on a plane like this? Well, it depends on if you don't want to put on an inboard flap, but you still want the component, you still want the feature to be able to slow down the plane a little bit for landings. But on a plane like this, what I would typically do is I would kick up the ailerons just barely, and you could actually squeeze a little bit of extra speed out of the plane too, because you will actually stall the wing a little bit and reduce the drag coefficient. So you can make a plane a little bit faster. They do that on sailplanes. Doesn't always work, especially with a thin cord like this. I'm not sure how that would work. But I can say this thing has a huge beefy wing and it feels very resilient for being extremely light. And the thing that's cool is even though they used what appears to be fiberglass everywhere, the fiberglass blends nicely. And I gotta say, I'm super impressed with how clean this looks. And look at that. I mean, it's really good, nice reinforcing, and we're gonna go ahead and build it right now. So we'll pause and get set. All right, so we're not gonna need a ton of tools for this. So I just grabbed my screwdriver set and I grabbed a couple of batteries. Now, Turnigy has some pretty nice packs that are available as well, but we're gonna start with either the Spectrum 2200 50C, which is gonna be a lot, 4S of course, and then this is a 2200 4S from China Hobby Lines, okay? So Turnigy has some offerings that are good for this as well. We just don't happen to have them right now. So that'd be when you're ordering. You can order from the links. Help support Brian Phillips RC. If you want to save a few bucks on shipping, just get it while you're ordering the plane. But that being said, we're gonna use a 630. So if you're ordering this, then you can order the battery if you need the battery. Obviously the 2200 4S, really popular size, so you probably already have that. Now also, I would suggest that on a plane that's real fast like this, that you do go for the higher C rating because you're gonna tend to wanna just like blast through it. And that's been my experience with this plane. The last time we flew it, it was just like, see how fast you can go. Now, you can use a smaller battery, but I guess it just depends on if you can get the CG to work out. They do have the CG mounted or marked into the board on that battery tray, which is pretty cool. So this is what we're gonna use. I'm just gonna pop out the staple real quick and just kind of have that prepared. Now, obviously the radio setup portion of our Unbox build radio setup usually falls at the end of a video, but it just kind of depends on the build. Depends on when we fear that we're gonna get trapped and it's gonna be hard to put things together. This plane should be pretty dang easy to build. My only catch is, if I have enough length here, it would be cool to set up flaperons. It'd be super easy, and then we could demonstrate how to do that on the AR630. So of course, this is a stabilized receiver, so you could get a 410. A 410 would run this totally fine. You got throttle, elevator, rudder, and ailerons, okay? You don't need any more than that. You don't have to do that. But if you use a 630, then you can go up. This is 630 plus, so you're gonna have the benefit of AS3X plus. So you're gonna have this thing locked in while it's going millions of miles an hour next to your face, okay? Just a thought. All right, so also, we couldn't find the instructions on this plane, so it's kind of weird. We don't think you need this, but it must have come with the motor. So like if you were to break the standard size prop or something like that, which by the way, the spinner is beautiful on this. It's like actually beautiful finish and really good fitment, but I cannot see the prop size. But my guess is if you look inside of there, you can't see that adapter because they actually have what looks like maybe a spinner on the inside as well. I'm not sure. They must include it in case you go to a different sized prop. And so because we can't find, we're not gonna tell you what to do. We just understand that we don't understand. Okay, so full disclosure, we couldn't find the manual on the quick start guide. There was no file. This is a really early release, so you are probably going to see it by the time you order yours, okay? All right, so in terms of build, I'm just gonna move these batteries out of the way. We are gonna put our shelf liner in there at a certain point, and we're gonna omit the Velcro or the hook and loop that comes with it. But a lot of times we will take the hook and loop that's appropriate. Well, in this case, since it's not installed in the plane, we can just glue it in with a little bit of China glue, okay? If you want China glue, they call it mucilage at Hobby King. You can order it there, but we also have links to all the supplies that we use up to and including these screwdrivers, just not this beautiful holder on brianphillipsrc.com/supplies. You can also find that generally or generically in our links, right? Under each planes. So the Unbox build radio setup is gonna give you the full series of steps, and we're gonna show you everything from start to finish. So if you're brand new to the hobby, you can follow along. But just keep in mind, many planes like this, even though they're cheaper, are not necessarily good for a beginner. And I'm not saying it's necessarily bad for a beginner. I haven't flown it for a long time, so I cannot remember if it was hard or easy. But I can tell you this, there's a lot of planes that are easier than others as a beginner to fly. And so we're gonna try to give you as good advice as possible, trying to keep from getting too much in my head because we have a lot of experience flying a lot of planes. And a lot of times that means that you forget how hard it is to fly planes when you're brand new. Okay, so we're gonna use the Spectrum NX10 here for our setup. As soon as we run out of model memory on the Spectrum, we're gonna go to an NX8. Yeah, we're gonna downgrade, right? Why? Because I don't find myself using the sliders hardly ever, and that's really the only difference between the NX8 and the NX10 right now, that and the Hall effect sensors for the gimbals instead of just the regular gimbals. I don't really care, it's not that big a deal, it doesn't make a big difference to me, and I think this might come with a little bit bigger battery. So if you're thinking about what to buy, Obviously, Hobby King has offerings, and then we have things that we are used to that we're gonna go ahead and demonstrate on this channel, but we're gonna demonstrate it within the purview of their products, okay? So, and that's true for everybody, X-Fly, E-Fly, doesn't matter, FMS, we do all the planes we do. We generally lean toward the Spectrum stuff because we've had such good experience with them, and we just love the stabilizing, okay? So there are stabilizers. You can get an orange RX receiver stabilizer combos, and they're fine, okay? But we just aren't blown away with them yet, and we haven't had them for a long time. So anyway, just do your due diligence, pick what you like. I like DSMX. You might like Futaba, okay? It's up to you. We can still be friends and disagree. All right, so let's build this thing. Obviously, there's a few different ways we could go about doing this. I think the best way would be to put the tail on. So we gotta obviously build the tail, then we don't have this wing flopping around. Okay, so first things first, I would exercise the control surface. You can see there's a reinforced hinge with glue or tape joint. If you give them a really close shot, you can kind of see the thickness of the glue.
See the shininess.
Yep. Okay, so work this a few times so that you get even deployment of the elevator on the length of the elevator. And this is a pinch hinge, but it's a modified pinch hinge, so you get a lot more strength. I can tell right now it's very strong. If it fails, you'll have to cut the whole thing lengthwise and stick in CA hinges, probably 3 on each side. You'll cut them real thin so you have a nice free movement. If you're the type of guy that likes to upgrade everything right out of the box, I'm not that guy, then you could do that right away. I don't think you need to. I think this is gonna be fine for this application. It's not a big plane. You don't need a ton of pitch authority change, and you're gonna have tons of issues with that, okay? It seems fine to me, okay? Now, if you look right here, we've got hard plastic, we've got a hole, and then we've got this opening that's gonna pass through the wire for the rudder, okay? So this is just gonna drop into this position. Now, since we don't have a detailed manual, we're just gonna assume that this bolts together because there's bolts, okay? There's literally one wing bolt and one rudder / horizontal stabilizer bolt. Some people might be inclined to glue this. I'm assuming it's not gluing.
The box says no glue, bolt together assembly.
Rudder in the hole. Now, the beauty of that is you can take it apart. Why the heck would you need to take apart this plane? I don't know. If your car is that small, then you're going on a spaceship, okay? Because it's not that small in most cases, okay? Most people's cars are bigger than that. Cars, trucks, whatever, okay? All right, so then this is gonna go here. Just make sure you get this pushed all the way through so it doesn't pinch. Now here on Brian Phillips RC, we try not to discriminate about cheaper or more expensive planes. Obviously, more expensive planes are gonna tend to have more features, and cheaper planes tend to be a little bit simpler. And so for that reason, we're gonna give this one a bit of a pass on the LED front. However, that being said, and we're gonna say this every time we can, LEDs are super fun and beneficial for fall time flying in our environments. When we start to lose the leaves on the trees, we're just finally getting them back, full disclosure, because it's spring in Iowa and central Iowa, 2025, okay? When we start to lose the trees' leaves, our backdrop gets a lot harder to see. When the leaves are out, it's very easy to see, and it makes for a wonderful flying experience, okay? But we don't control Mother Nature. Now, you're also gonna notice that I don't see any screw hole to pass through, so that means this is all held together from the bottom. What a sweet design. Holy cow, that is gorgeous. Okay, and you know, it seems like such a minor detail, but that is really cool.
Yeah.
Guys, look, normally you got this big funkadelic hole on the top, and you're like, why does that even exist? Well, because you gotta get the wings mounted, right? Well, not if you put the hole from the bottom.
From the bottom.
Okay, the only problem is it's probably gonna catch grass, okay? So there's a long and a short. I'm just gonna hedge my bets and go with short. You know what? I might take that back. This thing's a little bit slick from mold release. Let's just try this. That has a pretty good amount of penetration there. That's gonna have tons of penetration. This must be the one.
Well, you're going all the way through both, so I guess
I agree.
Make sense this time.
Maybe. Well, we'll find out. Okay, so real quick, we're gonna grab a 2mm drive right here. As you can see, 2mm. That does not feel like the right size. Did you say it was 2?
I was guessing it was 2 because I don't have any instructions.
You guys love it on Brian Phillips RC when we guess. 2.5mm, okay? 2.5mm. Yep, 2.5mm. Okay?
Weird. Okay.
So here on Brian Phillips RC, we try not to guess. We try to take the guesswork out.
And the camera crew is wrong like once a year, so.
I take full advantage.
Got that out of the way.
Every single time, because I need it, okay? So now look. Watch that joint from the top. Now, obviously the top's pulling the bottom down, so if that top doesn't get closed, the bottom's not closed. Okay, and if it comes through the top of the vertical stabilizer, you pick the wrong screw. Okay, so just keep going, going. Do not get an impact. Do not get your 36 volt cordless impact to run this in. I promise you, you don't need it. It's actually quite easy. A lot of threads, a lot of purchase. And I'm getting there, and you can see you can see by the whiteness of my fingertips that I'm really torquing this in now at the end, which I love. I love that all the plastic components are what touch each other too. So back in the day when I first started flying these airplanes, you were talking foam on foam on foam, and you were lucky to get like a hole that you'd pass through. And oh yeah, look at the crack. Look at the crack. You can hardly see, but it is tight now. Excuse me, toy it like a tiger. Okay, beautiful, beautiful, nice, square, beautiful. And I remember they used to show in the manuals like measuring with a measuring tape and all this crap. And I'm like, yeah, right, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna put it in the air and see if it goes to the left. So now we've got this ball link, which either needs to go in or out, depending on what position our receiver puts it in. Now there's two ways you can handle that. Oh, by the way, look, that wire already fell down.
Oh, nice.
Yep, it's right there, guys. That's awesome. Okay, so real quick, that ball link, you won't know where it goes until you have your receiver mounted. Or you can use a servo tester to center the servo, and then you can get that thing elevator. What the heck is going on?
Wait, what happened?
Look at that.
No, I see.
Was that square earlier?
Yes.
I thought it was too. Did I not line it up right? What the heck happened? Did I like do something wrong? Look at the vertical stabilizer. It's definitely canted to the angle. I don't know if I like way over tightened it. Well, we are gonna resolve that right now. Sorry guys, when stuff comes up, we deal with stuff here on Brian Phillips RC. We don't just pretend like it didn't happen, unless of course it was just a really, really embarrassing mistake, which does occasionally happen. Don't smirk at me, not like more than occasionally. Okay, so you see this? It's still kicked over to the side. I'm gonna disassemble this. I rarely disassemble planes, but it's almost like, did I miss the hole and like pulled it at the wrong angle?
But when you held it up, I didn't notice it.
I don't think I noticed it either. And that's what's weirding me out. So I'm just gonna back it off until that crack opens back up. So you see that crack there? It's obviously, I didn't put it in wrong. I just wanna see if it tips over. Does that not look pretty square to you? It's like, what the heck happened?
Is the rudder square? I don't want to move the servo, but it's throwing off my angle from back here.
No, I'm looking at the thickest part.
Oh, there you go. I mean, it looks square now.
Is it possible I just like over tightened it?
I don't know.
Well, okay, so guys, that was weird.
You do have a history of overdoing things.
Look, I just pushed that up.
I see that.
Okay, see how I pushed it up, guys?
Maybe it's supposed to be the short screw and it's like pushing it too far.
I doubt it. I doubt it highly.
I doubt it too.
I doubt it really, really highly. I just want to pull this out and see if we bent that plastic somehow. So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, when we get a plane, it's got some weird systemic issue on it, we try to share it. But sometimes when I make a mistake, I'll try to point that out. I don't know that I made a mistake so much as I just didn't notice it before we started this. Okay, so this got a ton of threads on it, guys, like a ton of threads. And for that reason, one might conclude that I picked the wrong hardware, but look where this goes. This goes up in here and there's a nutsert right away. See, goes through that passage and the nutsert's up a little bit. But you know what? This thing is long as heck. So maybe we're supposed to use the shorter screw. Let's try it with the shorter screw and just see what happens.
Okay.
Because it's not gonna hurt us if we try it and it doesn't work. We might as well know. Okay, so shorter screw now, guys. Look at the difference. Shorter, longer. The longer is not gonna hurt anything in the fuse. I just don't think this is gonna reach still. So we'll drop it in, see if it goes. Keep the head out so you can get lined up with your 2.5 millimeter drive. What size were you suggesting?
2.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Yes.
That's a lot more.
In the comments.
Hey, hold on. Listen. There was plenty of turns there, folks. Well, now what the heck? Yeah,
Turn it around so I can see it from the front too.
That looks pretty square.
Okay, well,
all right, so maybe the longer one is definitely for the wing, okay? Because that looks pretty dang good, and it's definitely not pulling up. Just give it a good college try, I guess. Okay, so now.
No, I still want people to leave it in the comments. How many of their wives know that the typical screw size is 2mm?
Yeah, how many of your wives know?
Yes.
Oh, geez. Okay, so this is on the back side. Okay, so I'm gonna pass this through, okay? And then I'm gonna just manually line this plastic housing up. Look how nice that is, how tight that fit is, okay? So once it's in, hey, come back over here. Look, watch, see that? You see where the cables are? Pull those through nicely, and then make sure you don't pinch them as you drop the wing into this area here. This is really good density foam. Like, it's not heavy, but it's really stiff. And but it's not so stiff that it feels like it's just gonna break in half. Now, also, depending on where you put your receiver, I'm assuming our receiver is gonna go like right here when this is done so that all the wires can go to that spot. So I may actually reroute this cable underneath so it can poke up from the top. That ESC line is not very long, by the way. And look, I'll easily be able to set up flaperons on this plane. Now, we don't need flaperons. I just wanna make sure that everybody understands. Plane like this, you don't need flaperons, you don't need spoilerons, but since we have the extra channel, we're gonna go ahead and do it. It's like super easy to add. Longer, stick it in the hole. What size is this anyway?
It's a 2.5, just like I said it was.
Weird. I gotta hang on to it. I'll be remembering that for minutes.
Yeah, I'll remind you.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll come up. Or not so much.
You're on your own.
Listen. You hear the popping? Okay, I gotta say, that is one easy build, folks. 2 screws, amazing. Okay, now they have these covers, and I think they're just like including this. They give you a couple extra ball ends. Whoa, they're different styles too, look at that. It's got the bolt through style. I wonder if they're suggesting that you could do that if you wanted to like put it on instead. I don't know. No, this one's already got,
They're all already on there.
Well, anyway, they gave us spares, I guess, which is kind of cool because it's a unique style. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put these back in the bag right here, like that. So I've got them, and I'm not sure why we have this extra washer, but that is definitely an aluminum washer that would normally go on a spinner, okay? All right, so then these things, they say no glue required, but they do provide these double-sided tape to actually go over these components, okay? So once we have everything centered, then we can actually mount and install those if you want. But if you look at them, they actually go at a bit of an angle. So I don't know if I like the aerodynamic characteristics of that, so I wanna make sure that I can get those straight and square with the length of the plane. It's kind of like a weird visual here because these are angled to meet the actual pitch angle of the ailerons, okay? So my concern is that when we install these, we might actually have a little bit of an aerodynamic drag that's induced. And I don't know if I want that drag because they're not necessary. I got to think on that a little bit, but then look at this, guys. See, you could also maybe line that up straight, but it's so tight, like I don't think it's gonna fit. So they leave this out so that you can install them when you're done making your adjustments because you need to be able to get under there and adjust them, okay? So we'll get our primary adjustments done and then we'll go ahead and stick them. And you could use glue if you want, but just remember they do include this double-sided tape and they give you a bunch of them, okay? So we'll see how that works. And they give you all these labels that you can stick all over it if you want, which is pretty cool if you're into that sort of thing. But ours says Rare Bear. And by the way, the other color is of course gold. I didn't mention that earlier. Ours is green and it is a lot of white, okay? So we're gonna see how that does once we're airborne, okay? So now that we're fully assembled, beautiful size class too. I gotta say, it's not an ultra micro. This is a pretty big plane compared to like an ultra micro, but just to give you an idea of like compared to this like Drago that's not an ultra micro, it'd be about in that size class. And granted, this is quite a bit cheaper than the Draco, but that one's bind and fly. It's got more features. This is gonna be more of like a fast and crazy sort of amazing experience. I really liked my last Rare Bear, full disclosure. All right, so then these are supposed to be for the tail, you said?
That's what it shows. I'm just going by this little picture here, and it shows it on the tail.
Okay, well, I think that it would never fit on the tail. That's too big. I think it would fit on the plane, on the wings. But truthfully, like honestly, I don't know. I feel like wherever you want it, you could put it. But if you look at these things,
they've already got them on all the other spots.
Yeah, I know. Well, unless you were to put it down the length of the fuse like that, which might be kind of cool. Does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
Does it really?
I'm just going by the picture.
I'm just trying to figure out why they gave them to us then. Oh, look, it's cut down the middle. What the heck?
Because it's supposed to be split on the elevator, the rudder.
So it is on the rudder.
Okay, so do you take back
Whoa, look, there's a cutout there also for
the
Hold
servo?
on.
That'd
Which
be the
one
other
is this? I must have the other
That
side.
must be the other side.
Okay, so I'm gonna sit down so I can concentrate on my placement here, folks. So here at Brian Phillips RC, we do like to share all the details so that you can follow along at home, but there are sometimes stuff that we have to figure out like this, okay? So you'll see that's already pre-cut from the die. It's gonna cover up the servo nicely, so I'm definitely gonna do this. Oh yeah, that's where that goes, don't you think? Don't you know?
That's what I said.
Oh, it's sticking to my finger really nicely. Oh, look how perfect it is.
Wow.
Wow.
So
But
where did you think those go? They didn't fit on, you don't think they
Well,
fit?
I thought they would go on the fuse myself. You know. Okay, so then this will go on the rudder, but man, that is gonna be hard to like mount because there's like all sorts of cutoffs. I bet this is gonna kind of suck to put on. See, there's a cutout there. There's a cutout there and a cutout on the bottom. You gotta be careful how you do this. Oh my goodness, that's gonna suck to put on, but this will help us locate things, okay? So, like I said, this part, I'll just lay that aside for now. You guys see what's going on. Hold your hand right there, please. Actually, hold your hand on the other side. Or here, I just need it to stay down. You see, it's wanting to walk away from me while I'm doing this, and I gotta locate this before I can locate that. I didn't really mean to pull that off first. I'll stick it back down. Okay, you guys see what's going on? It's statically trying to pull it over. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a screwdriver, I'm gonna pass it under, let it stick to the screwdriver just a hair. And then I'm just gonna walk it down like this and then get that lined up so it drops down close to the inside seam of the vertical stabilizer. Man, they really did a good job on those decals. That is a really nice fit and it's cut out perfectly. Normally you have to do all that stuff and it's a lot harder.
Kind of challenging.
It's easier said than done, let's just put it that way. Okay, so I have it stuck to my finger and it's curling, but as you can see, I just like to use, you know, like the tip of a screwdriver, or maybe even, see it? Look, it just pulls it over, like it's super excited to see it. I think I'm gonna just go like this instead, and then stick that. Hopefully I can get it up in there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That's good enough. That'll work. That's pretty good. Nice. The black servo definitely does not help, okay? Would have been nice to have white on that. But again, not a big deal. Now I'm gonna go back around to the other side. This one should be like cakewalk compared to the other side. But there's gonna be another seam cut in it. My suggestion is put the main one on first so that you can locate the other side, okay? So kind of the same thing. It's gonna wanna stick down to the foam. And so if you can, yep, it's real sticky. Oh goodness, that's the problem is if you do that, it might stick and not wanna come off. That seems about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, that looks good.
There it goes, guys. Look at that, beautiful. If you can wrap the edge, I think it'll hold it in position better. Okay, and then that was a throwaway part. So, and this texture is gonna make it a little bit hard to get this down on there. Okay, so now I'm gonna stick this here. And I'm just gonna control it with my finger this time. So remember, you wanna get it close to the mark so you can push it into the seam, okay? Beautiful. Okay, so then get real close so they can see whether or not that tucks in tight around those details. It's not bad. We've seen a whole heck of a lot worse, I can say that with certitude.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're gonna last long on this plane. I think they're gonna blow off, is my fear. But looks nice, easy installation, which of course is important to us because we built so many planes. And I think the radio setup is gonna be a breeze on this, but we do have to make some decisions. And the decisions, of course, are going to be where we mount the radio. So that's going to be one of our next things. Now, these we'll have to come back to. These, I think, I don't know. I always say I don't want to put them on, and then I always think it looks cool with a million of them on there.
Maybe we'll have to do all of them. It's up to you.
We'll do that off camera because it's really kind of a preference issue, to be honest. Okay, so how are we going to mount our battery in this plane? Well, we like to do something called the shelf liner trick. It's not anything I came up with. A lot of guys in the hobby RC influencer world do it. We've been doing it for years. I don't even know if I came up with that idea myself. I don't think I did.
I don't know where
a lot of people had suggested it for years, but I had been doing it for years previously. Kind of got away from it and then came back to it. So as you can see, we've got a singular, real heavy duty strap. It's gonna be kind of a pain to get in there though, it's tight. And this is not the pull through style, this is just the over the top style. Okay, so I prefer the pull through style, like a lot, guys, because it's a way easier thing in most cases, but we'll see how bad it is on this plane. Also, like I was saying, I kind of want this to go under and then come up that side and emerge, because that's gonna get in the way of where our batteries go. I think this is gonna have to come out there because the way we're gonna plug in the battery to get the CG, it's gonna have to go up front. And then obviously we have these servo extensions and splitter here that would normally be used for the ailerons, okay? So I can just unplug those. Don't really care which one's which, and we'll keep this for a later model, which is kind of nice. We're up a Y cable on this plane.
Oh, good.
Yep. Camera crew is super worried about that.
We're running short on Y cables.
Yeah, she gets really uptight about Y cables. She's very, cheap with Y cables.
I'll add that to my Excel spreadsheet of parts inventory.
Yeah, good idea. You should do that right away. In case you guys didn't know, this is just the bag of Y cables that I have up here.
That lives upstairs, yeah.
There's a few more downstairs. A few more. Okay, so shelf liner is an important step in this project. There's two different styles of shelf liner that we've used over the years. This is a shelf liner that's more conventional. We have links to this on our supplies, but then we found this at a, like Menards or something like that, and it's solid, and so it keeps the glue that sticks it down, or the tack from the backside of like the Velcro or whatever comes with the plane, from coming off. So it's really nice to use this stuff. They cost about the same. You'll use this roll for like 17 years. So, and just real quick, full disclosure, we're gonna use an FMS product for this called China glue. And except they don't call it that, I don't think. Then this is China glue too. This is an E-Flight / Horizon product. I think they do sell foam to foam at other brands. This is Deluxe brand to be specific. It has the warnings and stuff if you're into that sort of thing. Like you don't want your kids to like try to brush their teeth with it, you get this, okay?
I think if you're looking for it on FMS, I think it's EPO
And then I think
glue.
this is denim, okay?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's also products like that you can get at Hobby King, and it's called mucilage. And they sell a small tube and a large tube. I would suggest getting the small tubes because their tubes come pre-cut opened, and that can cause a bit of a problem with drying. These ones you pierce when you're ready to open them, so we've had really good luck. Now, why do we need this shelf liner? The shelf liner helps to stop a battery like this from slipping and sliding. That's a China Hobby Lines, and that's a Spectrum. So you can see that outside heat shrink sort of body on it is always gonna be real slick, and even with the best Velcro job, you're gonna still tend to have a little bit of movement there, and I don't like having Velcro on my batteries. So if you put the shelf liner in, it's gonna buy you a little bit more friction for hardly any effort, and you can see this little tail's been here for a while. I'm just gonna cut this to size here. Now, if you guys get this, I can tell you this, like I said, you'll use it for years and it will last for many, many, many hundreds of planes. But it is definitely worth it. I would just get the bigger roll. I think it's like 12, 13 bucks or something like that. So if you're buying planes like this, that's nothing in the grand scheme of things. So you just get a little bit cut like that and just drop it in there. And you don't even have to glue it down technically, but you can see kind of what I'm doing there. I'm just gonna slide it to where I want it, make sure it's not oversized. And then it happens to hit a really nice little area. Now, I happen to have this from earlier today. I was flying a Waco that had one of our like wing struts came off. So I had to use some China glue to hold it. And so I just keep the most recent Q-tip from cleaning my ears. I'm just kidding, guys. I don't do that. That's gross. Okay, so you can see I put a pretty liberal amount of that on there. If you want to show the people inside my hole. Okay, we'll just spread that around and just cover that area. And that's actually a lot, like it's probably twice as much as you need. But then once you get that down, The idea is normally you would want to put it on both sides, but you see the stringiness there? I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it looks like a spider web, okay? So you want that, it's really good. That stringiness means it's sticky. Now, I'm gonna put this on there, and in an ideal world, that Velcro would be out of my way. So I would put it on there and I would pull it right off and let it dry a little bit, okay? So in a perfect world, we're gonna make it a perfect world. Drop this down in there, dip it in the goo, spread it onto the back side of this. Now, you really don't need to pull this out. It's plenty good. In fact, I'm not even gonna pull it out. I'm just gonna leave it down there. And you're like, but it would be more resilient and it would stick better. Guys, I could literally hold up the plane by that right now, okay? And the only problem is you got a zip tie that holds the ESC on the other side. And so you just don't wanna block all those holes where the air cooling can take place. Now, you could use this to glue on those covers for the servo arms, but we're gonna show what they provided. And then if it like sucks the big one and doesn't work, then you'll know for your own application that you wanna go with a China glue or CA or something like that. And if you don't know what CA is like super glue, and super glue is fine, but you have to be careful you don't get a super glue that eats the foam. These current foams have been better. The EPOs that are being used tend to hold up pretty good. So you don't always have to have foam safe stuff. Okay, so we're not gonna look at much any of this. Okay. Oh, by the way, these are 4 9-gram Metal Gear servos. I didn't know they were Metal Gear. That's pretty awesome. And they do call for a 40C or higher pack. So this China Hobby Lines is only a 30C. See, 30C? So probably not the best choice. So we will go with the Spectrum offering just so that we stick within the spec and then we don't misrepresent something to you guys on Brian Phillips RC. We try our best to do that. Doesn't always work out. First of all, let's start the charger so we can have our batteries ready. If you guys don't know anything about batteries, batteries are one of the 2 dangers in this hobby, in my opinion. The other danger in this hobby is props, okay? So use prop safety with throttle cuts. We'll teach you how to do that if you don't already know how to do it. And then the other battery safety issue would have to do with fires. So if you use a smart battery, these automatically discharge, they stay in a more stable chemistry and a chemistry state. I run mine to 240 hours before auto discharge, which is a long time. That means I get less lifespan out of the batteries, okay? So this is a Gen 2, so it has no balance lead, so we just have this big discharge lead, and this is called an IC3 connector. That connector does not mate up perfectly with an XT60, but I'll just give you an example here. This is an XT60 adapter, just so I can show you. And then this is an EC3, E-Flight connector, 30 amp, okay? So these don't look like they go together because they don't, but you could. And I'll show you right now, this one will, and it does, because the pin size is the same and we don't need the data port, so they do go together. Sometimes these are really stiff and they're hard to force in. In that case, what you would use is you would use an adapter like this that I have hand built, no big deal. And then you would just plug it in like that. This is ugly and old, and I use some hot glue to kind of reinforce everything. And then that goes into the plane and plugs in. But when they start to get loose, you can see the pedals on this. You will tend to have some issues. And so what you want to do is take yourself a little Phillips screwdriver like this, just the 4 blades. You can separate these by rocking. And you see how it opened up the pedals, okay? If you ever have one that's kind of getting weak, that will help hold everything together. Now, I'm not saying weak electronically necessarily, but I am saying you'll have a lot stronger connection, way stronger, okay? So just remember, battery safety many times has to do with how fast you discharge, how often you discharge, and then if it's been pierced, crashed, and crinkled up really bad, the coating's cut off. There's a lot of different things you can do to avoid being in a dangerous condition. But the idea is there's a lot of batteries here. There's a lot of potential energy here. This is probably not the best thing to do for battery safety, but we know batteries. We work with them all the time, like literally all the time. So if you don't know batteries, don't do like we do. Get a fire safe bag, put them in the fire safe bag. Okay, all right, charger's on. This is a smart charger, so it's super easy to charge this. I said there's a discharge lead, so it plugs in like that. While that plugs in and it starts charging, it does all that through the data line, which is this gray wire, okay? But this is a balance lead, so this is like a Gen 1 Smart Pack 2700 4S, a little bit different size. And this number speaks to the capacity of the pack, and they're in series, S series, okay? And that's the nominal voltage. And this is the C rating. The C rating speaks to how fast it can discharge itself, and then also you can use that to conclude about how fast you can charge the battery Okay, so some of these batteries will actually say how fast you can charge. So like on this one, it will say max charge is 5C or 11 amps. This is a 50C. So I have learned that in most circumstances, the C rating for discharge is about 10 times the C rating for charge. I don't understand why they do that. It's very confusing to me. I wish they would just have different letters, okay? So just remember, discharge and charge. You actually force power in through the discharge lead, and then in this case, the data line communicates how to start, what to start, when it started last, and all the information through this smart chip. This smart chip from a crashed battery, it looks like this, okay? So this is the smart chip that does all the data management and the auto battery management system. So it will keep the cells discharged to the same amount or charged to the same amount, depending on if you're discharging or charging, okay? So that is not true in a dumb pack. A dumb pack would be like a Turnigy pack or like this Arrows pack, okay? So in this case, there is no smart data going on. It's just a balance lead, which actually physically hooks up one cell at a time. So like that red one and that white one make one cell, 4.2 volts charged. And then that white one and the next white one would be one cell, 4.2 fully charged. And then the next one and the next one makes another cell. And the next one and the next one makes the last cell. 4 cells in series. So you have a positive and negative, but they share common points because they're in series, okay? Then this is hooked to that small black, and this is hooked to that large red, okay? So then the individual cells can be isolated and charged. That's how balanced charger works. You force the power in, you keep them balanced with a separate circuit. That's why you have to plug both in to charge a dumb pack. A smart battery will just force the power in and let the battery management circuit take care of the charging, balancing, okay? Hopefully that's not way over your head. If it is over your head, don't worry. Just buy the more expensive batteries until you can get your feet under you, okay? We're gonna help you get your feet under you on Brian Phillips RC by teaching you things that others don't. Like for instance, this F7F, made by a competitive brand of what we're reviewing today. This is a beautiful plane. Don't get it, it's not a good beginner plane. It's beautiful. If you're a skilled pilot, you will love it. It is absolutely fantastic. There's like nothing wrong with it. It's just big, it's heavy, it's expensive, and it lands fast, okay? And there's also one screw that likes to come undone and let this nose gear give you problems. By the way, one of the most beautiful gear sets you'll find on a model airplane. Okay, just an example of what we do on Brian Phillips RC. We show all the competitive brands side by side by side by side, and we've been doing it for 10 years almost on Brian Phillips RC here on YouTube. If you need more advice and information, or you're looking for a competitive brand or a different plane, you don't like this Rare Bear, but you do like our approach to teaching, then you can find what we're doing here. This is called the Unbox Build Radio Setup for virtually any plane you've seen here. Some are bind and fly, meaning we get them, we bind them up, and they're ready to go. Some are plug and fly. This is plug and fly. We're gonna do more intense radio setup because we have to set up the radio system for this particular aircraft. We'll show you that whole process. And we've done it for pretty much every plane that we have in here. And you can see there's just a few. And then don't forget, we also have 2 40-foot containers. Yes, I said that right, 2 40-foot containers, high cube, 9.5-foot ceilings. And then we have a basement, half of which is full of planes now. So to be honest, we have hundreds upon hundreds of aircraft, and we love it. And I'll have more, and it's gonna be amazing. And we do all this because we love the hobby, we wanna grow it, we wanna reach a bigger audience of people that are sitting on the sidelines. We're gonna get you out of the chair and in the air on Brian Phillips RC. Okay, so enough of the spiel. You can see this thing's charging. It says 73%. You can also use these arrows up and down. You can use back, you can use start. If you press down, you can kind of see where you are, 3.9, 3.9, 3.9, 3.9. Look how nice and balanced that is. Now, if you get bored, you just stick another battery in here and let it charge. Okay, look at that, amazing. Okay, so you start charging, beautiful. And once it gets going, then it's just gonna take care of itself. It's already set, it knows how fast to charge. It's gonna set the current rate. And if you have a dumb pack, you're gonna have to set the current rate each time. I have these charging at 1C, so 2.2 amps. Or 2200 milliamps. So milliamps, of course, 1,000th of an amp is a milliamp, okay? All right, so now if you have a dumb battery, we're gonna use a dumb battery for testing and setup because we're not gonna fly it on this, but it's good enough to test. The high loading from a fast flight, high flying flight, you know, very quick high loading is where your C rating is gonna hurt you. They call for 40C, which is a weird size. My suggestion, just get 50C packs if you're trying to work on a budget. I know that sounds counterintuitive because you're gonna be buying more expensive batteries, but you're gonna need less of them because most of the planes that call for the higher C will not be hurt by a higher C. Okay, so you get a 100C pack, a lot of times it's just a sales gimmick, okay? It's not really well tightly regulated, but the milliamp hours, that's regulated. Yeah, it's very easy to tell what they are, okay? Same thing with the 4S. It's not like they're gonna give you 3 when it's a 4. You're gonna get 4. But if you get a 50C compared to a 30C, well, that's sort of ambiguous. Okay, back to the point, radio setup. On Brian Phillips RC, the way we do it is we talk about why we picked what we picked, we install it, and then we wire it up. We have to build a profile at some point so that we can have the wing type and the throttle, and if it's differential thrust, like for instance that Avios Twin Otter, we set that up the other day, and it was beautiful, and it worked really good, and we showed how to make a safe throttle cut so that you have 2 motors that aren't changing when you move your rudder with the throttle cut on and having one start up accidentally. We show you how to do that safely. And there was one comment on that video, by the way, and I didn't realize it, but there's a twin motor setup in the wing type. I did not know that in the plane, in the aircraft type. So we'll have to look into that next time we do differential thrust. So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, always learning, always sharing. Doesn't mean we do it the best way, but we do get you in the air, okay? All right, so this is what we're gonna use. In order to actually wire this up, usually I have to glue a receiver in or use a double-sided tape. There's a million different ways to skin a cat though. I like the 630 for this application because I don't really think we're gonna get so super far away from ourselves. But just keep in mind, this is a pretty fast plane. It will cover some ground and quickly. So you may decide to go with the 631 for a variety of factors. I think it's like a $5 difference in price. The 637T would also give you more telemetry features and feedback as well as pack voltage, but you do have to run a little micro PH cable back to the XT60 and it's a pain in the neck. I would not recommend it on this plane. Just set your timers, figure out where you landed on the first one and just make adjustments. You're gonna tend to fly this the same most of the time in my opinion. This is not gonna be like a go out and relaxing flight. This is gonna be a go out and be crazy balls to the walls flight. You're gonna tend to do it every time you fly this thing, in my opinion, okay? Okay, so there you go. You can see it's very small. On the back, we've got the compliance information. On the sides, we've got a little bit of more stuff. Right here, you've got the silk screen. It says S plus minus, so signal's on the top. Minus is on the bottom, plus is in the middle. So we've got a bind plug up here, but we've got a bind button here, okay? So we'll use the bind button, so we don't need a bind plug. A bind plug shorts negative to signal, not positive to signal, okay? So if you go from the negative to the signal on the top, that's what a bind plug does. It forces this into a bind mode so that you can teach this radio the addressing information of this transceiver, also known as a receiver in this case. This is also a transceiver. It is a receiver and a transmitter. This is a receiver and a transmitter, but we call this a receiver. We call this a transmitter. But make no mistake, this is a transceiver. This is a transceiver. They both do both. There's full duplex communication in a number of different ways between these transmitters. That's how you get telemetry. Okay, telemetry meaning data, feedback from the plane to the transmitter, okay? Now, this could be glued on the side, and that would actually get out of the way of the battery nicely too, hon. It could be stuck back here, which is kind of what I'm leaning toward, but I've got kind of that indisparity of height. You see that? It doesn't want to.
Yeah, because that screw's popping up.
Yep, that's right. I'm gonna lay this down over here just to get it out of the way, just a hair. Now you can, I believe you can put it sideways too, but it will learn its position and we'll show you. Why does it matter what position this is in? Because this is spatially aware, because this can act as a stabilizer. So the environmental impact like wind, thermals, you know, G-forces that are not incurred from calling out a G-force movement, like pulling up on the elevator, will be corrected by AS3X Plus. AS3X Plus is just a little bit better than AS3X, it's a little bit more refined. It's not like night and day, unless you start getting to the steerable nose wheel correction, then it's a pretty night and day difference, okay? Big feature added there. Now, I also do like here, hon, I like there because it's just easy, it's out of the way, but I feel like if we could go this way with it, you'd get it out of the way even better. Because I'm just thinking about when you load a battery, it's going to be going in here.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
That would be nice if we can reach. Okay, now I don't normally do this, but this is such a stinking simple plane. There's just like nothing to it, okay? So we have one here. I don't even know if I have it right. So it's going to be either the elevator or the rudder. So I'm just going to go with signal going up. And you're like, how do you know where to plug it in? Obviously, it's not going to be one. It's going to be like throttle, then like rudder, then like ailerons. Right?
Throttle,
ailerons,
elevator,
but not true because we're gonna have, so that, let's just throw caution to the wind. We'll test here in a minute, okay? So then this one here, so remember black is gonna go down. So on Futaba, you've got black for negative, red for positive, which is pretty standard in DC circuits. And then you've got white for signal, okay? So we're just gonna go into not, what would
rudder
this?
would be 4.
4, okay. But that's not necessarily true because we have ailerons that we're gonna use as flaperons, okay?
Right will be,
well, but let's
right
just
ailerons will be
just
channel 2.
Pay attention for a sec. One of them, oh, the right aileron? Okay, so the right aileron, I'm holding the plane backward, so my left hand has the right wings aileron, okay? So I'm just, again, we're just getting lucky here, guys, because we've done this a million times. And we'll show you how to find out what it should be here in a minute when we do our profile. See how I plug that in? I don't have extra room, so it's gonna be limited. Now, it's tempting to mount it here, but then you're gonna wanna bump that bind button all the time. It's gonna be annoying. So I'm just gonna reach this one up, and I'm gonna straddle and go up to channel, not 5, but 6.
Yes.
Okay, because 5 will probably be preserved for gear by default. So I'll just go to channel 6. Now you can tell, I'm kind of reaching funny, but you know what? Whatever, got the job done, not too bad. And look, no excess to deal with. Now, the big ticket item, can I reach the throttle? I think we might need to pass it through here, because I mean, I can definitely reach right now, but I don't wanna mount this backward. Well, I guess I could, if it reaches. Okay, so throttle makes it, but can I go underneath? I do not know if I'll reach.
Room to twist it around.
That, I like that better though. So much better. But if I go this way, that's pretty good too. I just gotta get those wires out of the bottom. See the wires on the bottom? Look at that beautiful fitment right there.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. And then I mean, but can I go around all the way? I don't think I have enough length. I could go through that thing. Let's try to go through that thing. Let's see if we can get in there. Guys, forceps, it's a tool that I use all the time on Brian Phillips RC. Forceps, also known as hemostats, are these things, okay? So I have straight ones and I have bent ones. If you're buying these, we have links to like kits and stuff like that, which are just like search results for Amazon. By the way, if you buy from our links, we do have an Amazon master link. So you can go to the Amazon store that we have and then you can buy anything from Amazon, which is really helpful. It supports our channel by small commissions coming to us when you buy. These things were bought at Menards. They were like 10, 12 bucks, something like that each. I use the heck out of them. I have these for work. I have these for home. I use the heck out of them. They are one of the most helpful tools that I've ever had in my life that I didn't know I needed, because it's like a long needle nose plier. And you can get these where the bite point is way out here and actually makes it easier to get into tighter spots. These are pretty long and this gets a lot wasted here. You want them out further and you want the bent tip. You will use the bent tip more, okay? I don't know why, it's just the way it works out. Can you fit through? Not really, that sucks. So I love that position. I'm gonna pull this out. That's on port 2, but it's listed as port 1 because the first port is actually the bind plug. Now, what I wanna do is I wanna try to get it through there. So I wonder if there's a trick I could do to pass that under and then through, because I don't wanna fish that thing back out.
If you had the wing off, was that bottom board accessible?
Yeah, it was. And it's only 1 bolt. That's actually not a bad idea, camera crew. Should I use the 2mm this time?
You've already been wrong twice in this video, and I was wrong once this year.
Exactly. So 2.5mm is gonna take the wing off, and then we're gonna put the wing out of the way. It's not uncommon on Brian Phillips RC. We build a plane, we take it apart 2-3 times. It just depends. I mean, we don't always know, you know, what we're gonna run into, but the idea is we're gonna teach you guys the best way to do it. And if you watch us do it and screw up, then you could just cut to the chase on your build. Now, that being said, there is a trick, and I kind of wish YouTube would increase, especially for Brian Phillips RC. Maybe they'll make it Brian Phillips RC special, 5 times speed.
Yes, that'd be great. Okay, but when you pull that wing off, the ailerons are not very long now, and they're already attached to the receiver.
See, Megan, this is what happens. You give me a great idea, and then you forget all the details. Like
you're in charge of the
2
details.
millimeters, like 2 millimeters. Oh yeah, it'll be totally fine. No problem at all. Look, pull this down, okay? Now feed this through that slot.
See,
okay?
no problem at all.
Yeah, right. Okay, now I'm gonna pull all this back through, and I'm just gonna very carefully, visually inspect my cabling as I put this wing back into the wing box, okay? I gotta say, they have really made a nice plane here. I hope it flies half as good as it feels, because I mean, it's gone together super easy. Other than that stupid issue we had with putting the wrong screw in, because we're...
Well, we didn't have a manual.
Then why don't they put that in this quick start guide? It's like 2 screws.
I know, it's all you need. It could have been 1 page total.
Well, and then they printed both. Maybe it's supposed to be page 1, page 2.
I don't know.
Maybe on the back page, it's supposed to be the other page.
Maybe, because that is a little strange.
It is weird. All right, guys, there it is. All I can say is, as a kid, I would have killed for stuff like this. I would have literally killed for this. It's so dang cool. All right, receiver. Man, that was smart that they put that wire through that hole right there.
It was.
Let's see if it'll work now. So now, second port, beautiful, perfect fit. And then we'll see, the elevator and rudder might be in the wrong position, so I want to be careful about gluing that in just quite yet. Look at how good that went together. I mean, that was like really easy. Holy cow. People are gonna watch this think, hey, Brian, he builds them quick.
Like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, those guys have built 400 other planes. Okay, so now let's try sticking this in the hole. Be nice if you'd help me when I stick it in the hole.
Sorry, I told you you're on your own.
Very disappointed. Okay, so we've got that held down. Okay. Now I'm nervous about this. Is it gonna fit?
Oh.
Because to be honest with you, I mean, this is not the battery we're planning on using for the whole shebang. Okay, now keep in mind, this prop could start at any time. If all hell breaks loose, you don't want to get cut. Okay, it's not likely to start because we haven't set it in a condition to where it should be allowed to start electrically. But I just think about like, okay, if there was a malfunction, what would the malfunction look like? It would look like me in the hospital with 400 stitches, and I would look like a freak forever, okay? So don't do that. Just be careful. Careful for me looks like I've secured the plane. If it takes off and runs into my TV, it would make for a hilarious video, by the way. But I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. And you'll notice that nothing really happens because the ESC is not gonna be allowed to arm without signal from the receiver, but you heard the beep, okay? So it's learning, it's trying to figure out what's going on. Show them the people, nothing's happening on the receiver, okay? Real quick, bounce lead, I'll push that down. Let's see if this goes in. Ooh, it's tight, it holds the battery in position. Beautiful, okay. So now, it's not started. I trusted enough that I would touch it, but just be aware, that thing is strong and powerful and huge, okay? So camera crew and I are gonna come around. Is this an all right vantage point and angle?
Yeah, but are we able to listen to that beep the whole time?
Just, we'll be fine.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hit cancel and back as soon as this thing loads. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, you can do it. Sometimes you have to give it some encouragement when you put 300 models in your transmitter that's only supposed to hold 250. Okay, add new model, create. That's an acro. Do you not want to hit that? Do you not want to hear that beep?
No, I mean, it's a little obnoxious, but.
You think it's annoying and you live with me?
I was gonna say.
Wow.
You said it first.
While this loads, I could check the screw sizes. Okay. By the way, this is a lot faster when you don't have 290 or whatever it is in. Okay, model select, model type, model name. This is where you type it in. I'm gonna change the aircraft type real quick. Normal, we're gonna go to either dual aileron or flaperon, in our case, flaperon. And then we're gonna go into, see, multi-engine. That's the feature I didn't know was there.
Oh,
pretty cool, huh?
Cool.
Okay, so select image, standard file, and you can scroll and change this to something else. If you wanna change it, you don't have to. I guess I'm gonna pick that thing. Actually, the P47 is pretty close to the look of this plane. Oh, T28's close too. I'm sure there's no Rare Bear in here. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the P47. Where is the P47? There she blows, okay? And then we'll set up F mode after we get done. We're gonna bind real quick just so we can see if we have our control surfaces right. So normally I don't do it in this order, but I'm just gonna show you right now you can. So the first thing I set up is throttle cut, switch H. Make sure you look down here. You see how throttle says -100 as I actuate the throttle. It's moving to throttle stick, not good. Make sure you set it, click to acknowledge, and then look. See? It's working because that's not changing the condition. Now I'm gonna pull that away from my belly, and then it springs to life, okay? So as you can see, it's representative of the stick condition. Now I'm gonna pull that back toward my belly, excuse me, switch H, and I'm gonna double check it. Okay, now we've got that. So now I can go down to bind. I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna press this button. Starts flashing. I'm gonna get that away from the counter in case it starts the motor. This is where if something was gonna go wrong, it would go wrong. So I have a hold of the wing, which would cause it to yaw violently, and it would probably try to swing around and hit my wife's butt.
Great.
But it's okay, I have it under control, guys. All right, so as you can see, we're not done with the setup, but I just wanna see which direction things move. Okay, so that's the elevator, that's the ailerons, and that's the rudder. Sweet, so we actually did pretty good. We got lucky on our plugs. So the elevator's not hooked up yet, but we can do that as part of the build. Now, first thing I always do when I arm a plane, I make it dangerous. I shut off the throttle cut, make sure it doesn't start. It didn't start. Oh yeah, okay, throttle cut's on, and now we can trust the plane. So I am gonna go ahead and disconnect. With the elevator being centered, I'm gonna shut it off. Okay, why are we shutting it off? Because we have to do a little bit more setup. We'll pause and get that done. All right, so now that we kind of have everything bound up, we can get that battery out of the way if we needed to, okay? But I'm gonna leave it because I think we can leave it for now. Just make sure the prop doesn't get yanked off on accident. Now, how are we gonna mount our receiver, okay? Our receiver is kind of in the pocket where it needs to be, and it's got a pretty flat surface. Now, if it's not flat, here's a trick. You can take some shelf liner about the size of your receiver, or you can use double-sided tape. Double-sided tape is really nice for this application, but I just like the simplicity of this because it works really good every time you try it, okay? Then that'll give you a little bit of isolation from the vibration, but after all, you just wanna know that you have this thing glued in. So if you have a surface that's got like a rib or something that's gonna make it bump out just a hair, you can use that to get a good bond with your glue, okay? So the double-sided tape will give you a similar function to this, and I just noticed I cut that a little bit wrong on size. So I'll show you using this time. Okay, I got the one dimension pretty close, and if I would have just done this, before we put the receiver in, then it would have been probably about perfect, but okay, so you see, now I can just take this, stick it down on there, super easy, and I'll show you exactly how I'm gonna do this. You don't need the shelf liner in this step. You can just stick it right to the side if you want. I'm just showing this as something I don't do hardly ever, but just put it on there, okay? See, it's pretty thick, and it's gonna run down a little bit. And so once you get that glue on there, you can kind of work it, just spread it out with your Q-tip, and it just gets real tacky after only a short time, okay? So what you can do is, now that I have better access, you remember we did this earlier with shelf liner under the battery, I never pulled it off, okay? So what you'll do is just kind of work it back and forth, and you can peel that off, okay? Now look, I have so much on there, I can probably spread it on both sides, and that'll give us, you see how it's starting to get tacky like that? This is one of the reasons why I love China glue, because look, watch this, okay? You can't do that with CA, folks. And it's gone. It's gone. My finger's clean. The residue and all the cancer-causing agents and death-causing agents have come off of my fingers. Maybe. We think. Possibly. Okay, but we don't know the ingredients. It's just in a white tube. Yeah. It's not toothpaste, guys. That's all you need to know. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit more here, and yeah, that's pretty thick. But all I want to do is I just want to put it into its position where it's going to end up landing. Now you're like, well, you just put glue on top of a glued joint. Yeah, I did that on purpose because now I'm gonna take and spread that again, okay? Why? Because then I can take and stick this into the position where I think I want it. In fact, this battery is gonna be in the way. I'm just gonna pull it out. Camera crew, put a hand on that 77, please. Thank you. So let me just pull this out. By the way, I had somebody the other day saying, why don't you say please to the camera crew? Because if I said please every time I asked my wife to do something, I would never stop asking. And it would drive her nuts, right?
Yeah, right.
Being polite.
Definitely. Yeah, politeness is really lost on me.
It's lost on you, okay? Yeah, I know, especially when you're talking to me.
Yeah.
So we're gonna stick this in there, and we're gonna stick it in there. And to be honest, it's staying like really nice, okay? Because we gave it just a few seconds to cook off. But if you're concerned, holy crap, it's already like super stuck. You can pull it back, and you see how it's all stringy and nasty and good? Just let it sit there in that gooey delight state, okay? Why do we care about the gooey delight state, camera crew?
Because, well, why do you want it to cook off?
Why do we want to be able to see the gooey delight?
Because that means it's gonna get stickier, and then the sticky sticks to itself.
It's contact adhesive.
Like in an envelope.
Contact adhesive is designed to be partially cured, and so it cures faster in the air, okay? And then you can stick them together and they will literally like not come apart, okay? Now I'm not saying that you can't force them apart. There is one of the reasons I like China glue so much is that you can use a product like Kicker, CA Accelerator, and break down that bond. While this sets up for another 10 seconds, I'm gonna show you that. Let me just grab in my drawers here real quick.
Okay.
Hey, look at this Pringles lid. That is Primero right there. That's when you know you've arrived. If you don't have a Pringles lid on your Insta set, this is Kicker. So I just reach that up, and if I were to put that little drip that's working onto that glue, a little bit more maybe, would break it down, and it would literally just come undone. And I'm talking about glue that's been chilling there for years. I've had to delaminate and debond, but just warning, it will probably take your paint off if you're not careful, okay? So don't get that. Don't get that on the sticky stuff, unless you want it to unstick it, the sticky stuff. Okay, so you see it's all stringy and beautiful. This is definitely going to stick like immediately, okay? Push it down, push it in. There it is, okay? That thing is on there and it ain't coming off, okay? It's not coming off. Pretty much no matter what you want. And it's not gonna come off unless you were to put that Kicker in there. But you see that nice little insulative cushion there will give you a nice permanent bond, and it's gonna keep it in position. Now it's spatially aware, and we can go ahead and finish the setup. So while that sits and sets up, not that it really needs to, you could literally fly it right now if you wanted. I'm gonna hit cancel and back. I'm gonna go back, whoops. I'm gonna click and go to system setup. I'm gonna disconnect RF. You'll notice the orange light shuts off, and then I'm gonna go back in. We're gonna name the model. We're gonna kind of start back where we left off. This says 242, but that's because numbering is wrong in Spectrum Airwear when you pull from other models. Like we had an NX6, we had an NX8, we had another NX8, then we had the NX10, and we're soon to move to the NX8. But we're probably not gonna move everything over. All right, so you can just scroll this in. Full disclosure, I use a Legacy keyboard. Okay, so this can stay Rare Bear. Okay. So Durafly, Rare Bear, we ran out of characters, so I had to take out spaces and stuff, which is annoying. Just hit back when you're done. Aircraft type, we already set. F mode, we didn't set up. We're gonna set that to switch D, even though we don't need landing gear. We're gonna have flaps or spoilers and flaps or something like that. But then switch D is gonna help us to command and control our flight modes. Spoken flight mode, this is where we set up the different names that are just labels. So highlight, cancel, cancel. And by the way, I don't talk about this much, but that's like the cancel or escape button. That's the back button, that's a function button. I use the back button a lot, and I use the cancel button a lot, okay? So we're gonna type in AS3X, because that's where we're gonna have our stabilizer set up. So AS3X. And by the way, I was helping this guy set up, I won't say his name, just to, you know, for his anonymity. And he's a nice guy, he's a little older and needed some help setting up a model. And so I helped him set up a model, right? He didn't want to label this. I think it was a big mistake. And I told him that too. Because the first time that you don't remember what mode you're in, you're going to end up making a mistake, especially as a beginner. Okay, so we're up here, we need to get way down here. So anyway, my point is this, and we'll let you watch me scroll just so you can hear my story time with Brian Phillips RC. Label your stuff. It takes an extra couple seconds. Yes, it's a pain. Yes, but you know what? It's not that big a deal. And you can actually set this up so that it's a template, or the list of stuff that you want is always at the top. Like, I do not know why AS3X mode is buried all the way at the bottom. You would think it would be assumed to be used a lot. Okay, then flight mode 2, we'll make it so it's off. So it says off, highlight, cancel, cancel. And then we can scroll in the word OFF. Anyway, the moral of the story is, if you're older and you struggle to set things up, or if you're younger and you struggle to set things up, or if you're brand new and you struggle to set things up, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is know what's happening. Be prepared, and it's going to make it a lot easier on when you're flying. Remember, during setup, like, who cares if it takes an extra 40 minutes to set up a plane? It's not that big a deal. When you're just learning, you don't want to have that extra weight on your shoulders. Okay, AS3X off, and then this one's going to say safe. Okay, so remember, this is highlight, cancel, cancel. And then we're going to scroll in SAFE for sensor assisted flight envelope. And that's where we do our auto leveling, folks. And then AS3X stands for artificial 3-axis stabilization. Or artificial stabilization 3-axis. I would say it in the other order.
And it's technically AS3X plus, but we just don't label it that way.
Yeah, we don't talk about that because there is no label in here.
Safe mode.
Off. And so this is going to speak that, and it's going to show it on the screen. Okay, so we can hit back. Channel assign, this is where you can make your assignments. Now remember, this number corresponds to a number of channel, has nothing to do with the auxiliary. Now, one of the things that confuses people, and this is something that my friend was confused about, was, oh, look at that. You can see the port assignments. That's kind of nice, right there. See, aux 2, and that's 7. Why does it say 7? Because there is a number of channels, and then there is a number of auxiliaries, okay? They are not aux 1 here because its left aileron is predetermined by the setup, okay? So that also tells you how you hook it up. So you remember how we said, oh, okay, it's going to be throttle on port 1, even though it's technically port 2 of the receiver, but it's port 1, okay? It's labeled as port 1, but it's the second port of the receiver because the bind port is port 0, okay? So then right aileron, then elevator, then rudder. We just got lucky on those two. We might have plugged them in backward because they weren't labeled at all, okay? And then gear is not used, and then left aileron, and so on and so forth. So you can go back into channel assign. And then in this case, like if you're setting up thrust reverse, I would typically set it up to switch G. I would use one of these unpluggable channels because if it's an avian, you would be able to use one of these floating channels that don't have anything plugged into it. Remember, we have 6 channels to play with. Channel 6 is blocked out because it's one of the primary control surfaces. Channel 5 is A, so it's still available. So if you want to do some lighting or something weird, you know, like a bomb drop or something like that, you could do that still technically, okay? Or retracts, whatever, okay? So, but in our case, we just need to be able to make an assignment for where we're going to actuate our flight mode. So the rotary knob we'll use. I don't use the sliders, so I inhibit those because I don't like them when they beep. And I'm going to go to, it's like channel 9 just because it's convenient. It's right. Whoops. Inhibit. You have to click to acknowledge. Okay, so like let's use this channel, okay? We'll set that to switch D. And you're like, but I don't want it to be switch D. I want it to be flight mode. Fine, whatever. We've already assigned D to flight mode, but you can also just assign flight mode here. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing because when you actuate D, you're going to actuate flight mode. And if you actuate D and you put D here, it's going to do the same thing. It doesn't matter, but you want to remember it's channel 9, which will confuse some people because this is aux 1, aux 2, aux 3, aux 4. So aux 4, channel 9. If you're still confused, don't be confused. Just remember there's 2 numbering matrix here. 1 through 20 are the channels that this thing can support, okay? The NX8 also supports 20. The NX70 supports 14. The NX6 supports 14. And then the higher level ones support what they support, which would be 20 or, yeah, I think for all of them, okay? All right, so walking back, trim setup, this is where you can make your changes. You can make the trim adjustable for different flight modes. I don't ever mess with that, just so you know, okay? So we're gonna walk out. So now forward programming is super easy where we set up all the AS3X and stuff, okay? Oh, it charges before we fly tomorrow, okay? So servo setup, you can see right there if we need to reverse anything, but I don't think we do. I think they're all going the right direction. Rates in Expo, we'll set this up now. So highlight that. I like to set it to switch F for all three. We'll set 5%. That'll be the most touchy. Then 10% for the middle. That's where we'll start. And then we'll have a doubling and a halving effect. So you see it's 10 in the middle. And we're also going to drop the rates in that top setting. Okay, so this is going to be 90% rates, 100% rates, 100% rates. You can see the rates and Expo are tied to the same switch. Okay. So there's 100, 100, and 90, right? So for rates, now that's Expo is 5, Expo is 10, Expo is 20. So in the middle, you kind of have like a middle effect, okay? So if I need it more touchy, I can go to more touchy. If I need it less touchy, I can go less touchy. But that gets me to the ground. It's called safety margins. I want to make it so that when I'm in the air, I don't have to think about crap. Like that, okay? I don't want 3 switches. I want 1 switch, okay? So switch F. We'll set the top setting to 5, the middle setting to 10. And you're like, but Brian, you have all those extra switches you're not using. Believe me, you're not going to have that many switches by the time you're done that aren't being used. Maybe on this particular plane, but I like to keep my switches in the same spot so that I can avoid confusion while I'm flying. I got enough to worry about when I'm flying than to have, you know, components that are on different switches in different planes. That's a really bad idea and a good way to crash. Okay, so you notice exactly the same on the rudder, the ailerons, and the elevator, okay? So we're now in the middle. Now differential we can actually use on this model. We're not probably gonna worry about it, but differential, just so you know, would make the ailerons go up more than down, okay? And at 100% differential, this goes up only, and this goes up only. At negative differential, this goes down only, and this goes down only, okay? I don't know why you would want to do that, but there are times when it's helpful, especially when flaperons are deployed, okay? And yes, you can set this with a switch, so you could set it to your flap condition so that it actuates when the flap conditions are true, okay? In my case, I'm gonna just leave it off for now because I don't know that we need it. Throttle cut we already set up, make sure that's on. And then you can set up digital switch setup if you need to change things for like thrust reverse, which I usually set to switch G, because thrust reverse in most environments, it's like if you're on switch G, would be a negative 100, plus 100, plus 100 to give you reverse and reverse. And then we do pilot fatigue when it's EDF jets, as opposed to prop planes, we try not to do pilot fatigue, which is where we force full throttle and reverse thrust at the same time without having to actuate the throttle stick, okay? So just to demonstrate, throttle cuts on, you'd be flying along, you'd be controllable thrust, and then you'd be full throttle backward, regardless of the condition of that, which can be dangerous with the prop, so we don't do it. Okay, this doesn't have thrust reverse on it that we know of. If it does have thrust reverse, I'm not aware of it. If it does, it doesn't have a separate line. Usually there's a separate line on non-avian ESCs, electronic speed controls, that would then allow you, you'd have like another plug that'd be on a yellow cord, either a singular pin header or a female header in this case, or it'd be like a 3 with just a signal line in there. Then you would pick an open channel, you would actuate that channel as such, okay? All right, so we actually, believe it or not, this radio setup is done except for the thrust reverse, and we have to mechanically set up our elevator because it's not hooked up, right?
Do you need to set up the flaperon setting before we do forward programming?
Yes, we do, but we can't set it up until this battery is energized. Okay, so we're gonna set this in here. You can see where the CG is here. Okay, so it's about here. Now, I don't know, hon, do you think I should mark it? Just mark it?
Well, yeah, because you can't feel it.
How about this? I'll mark, these batteries are done. Since they're both done, I can use the actual battery I'm gonna use because then I can get my center of gravity. Remember, a different weight battery is gonna balance out in different positions. I was just using this because it was convenient, okay? And yeah, if you need to use like a battery adapter or whatever on one battery but not the other battery, you're still gonna be fine. It's gonna be close enough in most cases, okay? Throttle cut's on, throttle stick is down. You notice I'm standing in a place where this is not getting anywhere to spin, so if it were to spin, it'd be a problem. Okay, so obviously that's not ideal, but since we've already vetted the system, we trust it now, okay? Once you trust it, just keep trusting it until it gives you a reason to distrust. Don't make mistakes in radio setup, you'll be fine. You see how I'm using my thumb? I'm pressing that halfway across, and then I'm gonna push the back half, like toward the camera crew, down. Then I let go of my thumb, and I can bring it around. Now, you're also gonna notice something. I'll teach you something about that shelf liner. Why do we do shelf liner? Is that battery moving?
Nope.
I didn't even get it that tight. If I had Velcro in there, it would hold it super tight. The problem is it's like really hard to get them off without undoing the adhesive. And then you got fuzzy on the battery and you got firm hook and loop inside the plane, and it's just, what if it's backward on the next plane? Or you've got the hook and loop in the wrong spot, okay? It just turns into a maintenance nightmare, okay? And also you see that that's kind of not quite, but it's close to pinching that wire. So be careful you don't pinch off your wire for the throttle. You can come to the side there and go out, okay? So now, like I was saying, these will go together in most cases. Be mindful of where your arm is compared to the prop if you haven't tested your system yet, okay? But like I said, we trust this plane. Can hold the plane down, wait for things to initiate. So it's arm now, it's very loud.
No kidding.
Okay, that's because it's the resonance is better when it's up against the hard surface. Throttle cuts off. Okay, very good, throttle cuts on. Tested, okay? All right, so everything is ready to go for the last part of the setup. Now, the last part of the setup, I think I'm gonna switch to this side, if that's okay. One suggestion, and this is something that I would suggest for most people, up to and including, I was helping this gentleman the other day, like I said, and it was on the phone. So it was like, kind of surprisingly worked well, but it was all from memory for me, and he was using an X20, which is pretty cool. But check this out. Stick that in there, nice fit. Now we know about where the CG is. Oh yeah, that's plenty good. That's plenty good. So all the way to the front, to the firewall, okay? 2200 all the way to the front. I love it when a battery fits. I love it when it's easy to load. Mark it, 2200 4S, and the battery lead's gonna go that way. And it's all the way to the front bulkhead. And that gets your CG right. We don't even have to look up the CG. We don't have to mark the CG. That's the way it should always be. Manufacturers, if you're listening, I doubt you are, please do that. There's no reason that it shouldn't be marked on the plane if you know what it is. Unless, of course, you haven't figured it out when you designed it, which is possible. There might be small tweaks, but at the end of the day, you're gonna know about where it is, okay? All right, so continuing with our radio setup, I wanna have all my components physically assembled, make sure we don't have any issues. That is a sweet looking plane, by the way. I gotta say, I love the size. Throw it in the car, go. Not a bunch of dinking around. Okay, elevator. We are not in AS3X because it's not moving, okay? And it also didn't dance. That's one dance for AS3X. For safe. We didn't hear either. It's also not changing and it's not moving when I wiggle it, okay? So now I wanna make sure this elevator is neutral. You can tell it's not gonna be neutral where it is. So obviously this needs to be mechanically adjusted. How do you do that? You're gonna brace this and spin this in. Maybe I'll get lucky. Oh yeah, it's easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half turns. Does that seem about right? Ooh, that's pretty getting close. That pulled it down just a hair, didn't it? Guess I need to come out half a turn. There may be an Indy and an Audi on this. I don't know yet. Oh, that's so close. I'm probably out one more. I think that it's a little wider opening on this side. It should just be subjectivity at work. Okay, so now there is a proper tool for this. I'm gonna show you what the tool looks like. You don't have to use this tool. You can use either of those pliers. You can use your thumbs. But I'm gonna warn you, if you set up a lot of planes, helicopters, you're gonna probably eventually need these. I do not like this set. It's too thick here. This set does not give you enough clearance to pry a lot of different tools. I should take this down and I should just put this on a grinder and just grind that down, because if it was thinner, it would work better. But for this application, it'll work fine. Okay, so you see, got this little thing right there. So see, I've got it backward. This is the problem I run into with these. Look, now I can't get into where I need to get into to do this, okay? See, now I'm like poking all around, trying to find the hole. There it is. But you see what I'm talking about? Like, look, now I can't really get this off. So I gotta say, I have 2 sets of these. I have one that's like this and one that's like super cheap set, and the super cheap set probably works better. But this does work, okay? You can use it to pry the ball links off, which can be really, really tough on some of the more high, super expensive stuff, okay? Now also, I wanna look at that rudder. That rudder is got a little bit of a cant to it, doesn't it?
Just a little bit.
I don't trust it as far as I can throw it, and I will be throwing it. So let's pop that off. So you remember the tool I was just talking about? Mm-hmm. This is where it will hopefully come in handy. Now also on the rudder, it's gonna be easier because you have a vertical stabilizer, and the rudder of course is easier to get to, but you can tell this is kind of kicked over to the side. So I wanna take this thing, slide it under like this. And once you're under, see what I'm talking about, guys? You can't fit under the dang thing. And so you end up getting in there and you're just like, gosh, I can't even get in there to pry it. But a lot of times you can still get it done, okay? But this should be thinner, folks, way thinner, like by a factor of 3. Okay, now I need this to come out. Ooh, that one's harder. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Let's see if that's enough. That's probably too much. Ooh, that's pretty dang good.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so remember, there's only half turns on these because of the ball link. So now you can see this works. So that's gonna catch the back half of the assembly, center it, and then it snaps on. Very good. That was pretty easy. Mm-hmm. All right, so that looks pretty lined up there, camera crew.
It does.
Now remember, all these steps add up to a long video. Why do we make long form videos on YouTube? Because people need help and we're here to help. Why do we do this? Because we love the hobby. And I love the hobby and I'm obsessive with it. My wife just supports me in it. She doesn't love it. She just loves me, which is crazy that she's done this for so long. So at the end of the day, if you want to support Brian Phillips RC and give us a high five for the little bit of help that we might have brought you, buy the planes from the links, buy the batteries, buy the transmitters from the links. You don't pay any more. You still get your RC bucks and bonus programs or whatever you've got. You still have your account with them. But what happens is we help facilitate a transaction by pushing you toward a particular vendor for a particular product versus maybe another vendor. That's the stick, okay? So that's how they're making money on it, okay? So we become some sort of like a marketing budget or whatever. Doesn't matter to us. The point is this: we want our hands on as much of this equipment so that we can show if it's good or if it's not. And we're not bought and owned by any one brand. And you're like, but you just said you use Spectrum all the time for receivers. Yeah, because we like them the best. We also use Lemon. We also use competitive offerings in this. This is a Durafly brand. It's a Hobby King brand, and we're using competitive offering to get the best results out of it, in our opinion. This is also a retail offering, okay? You could spend way more on a transmitter, but you're not gonna put it in a $150 plane or a $200 plane or whatever this is, okay? At the end of the day, we just wanna serve the RC industry, both to the consumer level and at the manufacturing level, and help mesh that up so that we get the best out of both, okay? That's why we do such a wide variety of aircraft. And that includes some of the stuff that's ready to fly from China, that's total garbage, and some that's awesome, okay? And everything in between. And we assume if we get it, it's gonna be good enough to show. Because remember, we tell these people, like, we're gonna tell the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. So if it sucks, you know, we're gonna tell people that. And that's what we do for you guys. We don't cover for manufacturers ever. We just say what our experience is. That's why we point out negative things, even on a really good model, okay? But we also try to hold it in perspective, for this will be a pretty cheap model. It's not gonna be as good as that Micro Draco, because the Draco is way more expensive, okay? So we're realists. But we also, and I also work in manufacturing for a living on my day job. So I work on industrial scales, and I go into plants and I see how they make stuff, and it's hard to make stuff. So I hope that they all find success and make great things. There's a lot easier ways to make a money than making RC airplanes. Okay, elevator up, down, wrong. Okay, so click, go into click, go into servo setup, highlight the travel, scroll over to reverse, go to elevator, reverse it. Okay, now elevator's up, elevator's down. Roll left. Okay, so here's my suggestion. Make sure the tail's pointing towards you or the thrust tube is pointing towards you. Now that is gonna make that wing go down and that wing go up, which would roll the plane to the left. Perfect. That is gonna make, well, it already did it. It's gonna make this wing come up. It's gonna make that wing go down. This elevator's gonna go up. That's backward as well, rudder. So that yaw's left, that yaw's right. So it's gonna point the nose that way, it's gonna point the nose that way. That's the way it works. Just imagine you're in a small airplane and you're holding the stick. This is the stick, okay? It should do the thing that you would expect it to do. And it's gonna lean the plane, or the helicopter, actually. If this is the collective of a helicopter, to do the same thing. Excuse me, the collective over here is cyclic, so. All right, getting back to the point. We've set up all the things except for the flaperons, okay? Now, differential could also be set up here if you wanted to, but we don't need to, so we're not gonna worry about that yet. So let's set up flap system. We're gonna switch to switch B, exercise the switch. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go in here and set up. Now, elevator compensation is reverse of what you would typically have with an inboard flap. Flap rounds are far less effective than inboard flaps, just so you guys know. But I'm going to still show you how to set them up anyway, okay? So now they're up. That's a spoiler run. Now they're down. That'd be like a takeoff flap. That'd be like launch, you know, extra speed, okay? And I don't even know if the elevator correction is gonna be the same or different, okay? So because I'm trying to do, now I'm gonna pull the switch toward myself so I can see it actuate. So that'd be like crazy spoiler run action. It would not be helpful to the flight envelope, but it might help slow you down. It might help, you'll be surprised. When you deploy flaps, the plane is allowed to point downhill without picking up as much speed because you increase the drag, okay, and you reduce the stall speed. So as the plane comes downhill, it needs to get down to the runway so it can land, right? Well, if you deploy an inboard flap, it comes down like this and it changes kind of the shape of the wing. So you can fly with the nose drooped down more, and then the pilots can see over the nose of the plane as they point down toward the ground. So obviously you're not a pilot in this plane, and the visibility on this plane must suck bad because they have really tall gear on real life too, because they have huge props on these things. Well, anyway, so the spoiler rounds are gonna have kind of like an opposite effect, but flapper rounds would go down, okay? So flapper rounds would be, instead of 100, you'd go like minus 100. But you wouldn't even necessarily have to do 100, you know? Well, let's just go to minus 100 for easy figuring, and let's do a takeoff and landing flap, okay? So here's like a takeoff flap at 25%, and then a landing flap at full deployment, okay? Then what I wanna do is I wanna go ahead and change the speed to like 2 seconds, okay? So that's gonna give your plane a chance to respond as it's flying through the air. See, now it goes slow. And so if you're gonna do takeoff flaps, so here's your takeoff flaps, and of course our flap rounds. But these are still gonna actuate as you control the ailerons, okay? And now how does that work? Because we have split them into their own controls, okay? There you go. Looks pretty good. That'd be like a flaperon. So if you want that flaperon to have an elevator compensation, what's gonna happen when you put down flaps, the plane is gonna tend to, if it's an inboard flap, it's gonna tend to balloon. But when you put down flaps on the outboard portion of the wing, it's gonna tend to descend. And then you have to put up elevator, okay? So the up elevator, and this is just where you kind of guess, okay? So you can see that's down, we want it to go up. And usually it's a small amount. So let's say like 4%, negative 4%. And then on this, you might do like negative 10, okay? And it moves at the same speed as the rest of it. Now, why would you want 100? I'm probably not gonna do 100 on this one. I'll probably do like, we'll do like 75%, okay? So we're gonna see how that works, okay? So we got takeoff flaps, barely deployed, landing flaps, kind of a lot. And then this rate of correction is gonna be, since we reduced that down, let's do 8 and let's do 3, okay? So it's gonna be like 2/3 adjustment. So if that was 4, that'd be 10. Or if that was 6, that'd be like 14. If that was 10, that'd be like, you know, 25 or something like that. So it ends up being like 2/3. That's, the takeoff flaps are not a linear change. So it goes from like 0 to 25, then from 25 to 75, okay? And you're probably like, well, you wanna do spoiler rounds on this plane. And I said, yes, that would be one way to do it on this plane, but I don't know which direction I want it to go. So we've come back. I realized that I was setting up my flaperons a little bit confusing, so we're trying again here. There's 3 mixes that I've set up, okay? So you can see we have normal takeoff flaps, landing flaps, okay? So there's normal flight mode. They're gonna roll the airplane just like usual. And in fact, grab me one of the green thing there. I wanna stick that under one of the wings so that it stops jumping back and forth. It's gonna confuse people, okay? So here we go. So we have the ailerons move. That rolls the plane left, that rolls the plane right. Takeoff flaps go down a little bit, the elevator comes up just a little bit, then the elevator comes up a little bit more. Okay, so that'd be full landing flaps, and of course, we can still roll the plane as typical. I'm gonna just slide this under just a hair more so we get a little bit more protection. Okay, so we can still roll and actuate the plane. We have a little bit more elevator correction. Okay, so you'll notice that is gonna try to make the plane go down. or excuse me, that's gonna make the plane go up slightly. That's normal because the flaperons pointed down on an outboard configuration will make the plane nose down a little bit. This is gonna correct for that, hopefully. Okay, so that's all done in the normal flap system like we already talked about, okay? So the negatives are all set up, okay, in this particular model. Then I have to set up mixes. In this case, I'm just gonna show you the mixes. This is tied to switch C. So when I turn on switch C, I'm gonna go out of flaps. When I go to switch C, on the top setting, I have a mix that's -125 that's tied from flaps to left aileron. I just screwed with it until I got it to move the right direction, okay? Now I have 2 of these mixes to get enough to actuate it so it goes up. So now they go up, and now they go up even more for like a landing flap. But you're also gonna notice we have an elevator correction that's now going down, which is what you want. It's opposite, okay? See, when I have this mode off, it just does the normal flap mode. When I go down here, it goes opposite, okay? That is controlled by another mix. So I'm gonna go from mix 1, I'm gonna go to mix 2, and it looks exactly the same because it is exactly the same. So basically, we set this to C, we blank out this one, we blank out that one, we accept this one, and we set it to -125. Exactly the same as mix 1. Now what would happen is if you had less, if you wanted the spoilerons to be less, then you would do less on the second setting or more on the second setting, you see? Because then you would have less of an adjustment factor, okay? So just a little bit there and just a little bit there, okay? So as we go to a higher negative value, we stack on top of mix number 1. But the idea that's really cool about this is that you're actually doing everything with your delay now too, which is cool because we're tied to flap, okay? So then we have one more mix for the elevator compensation to flip it upside down. Now, because we were deploying to about 10%, I needed to go 10% plus 10% more, so it brings us to the opposite output at full deployment, but only when we have this mix turned on. Not when we have the mix turned off, not when we have the mix turned off. Then the flaps actuate as typical, okay? So down here, so they would operate as flaperons here, they'll operate as flaperons here, and they'll operate as spoilerons here, which means we need that elevator to go down and then down more. And it's also delayed, so it's slow, okay? Which is beautiful. So now, admittedly, on this spoileron configuration, I feel like I probably have just a little bit too much deployment on this 125. So I'm gonna bring that down just a hair because spoilers, we're not gonna generally have them come out quite so much. So maybe we do 60 here. That looks a little bit more appropriate. And it's gonna match more closely to our flap output for flaperons, okay? So I think it's gonna give us a nice linear flow. You know, controllability matters. So this, instead of being 125, it could be like 100, the other one could be like 75. It doesn't really matter. The point is you don't quite have enough on this one, so you gotta stack it into the second mix. Okay, so flap to left aileron. Now, not right aileron. Right aileron will move both of them. I don't know why. It's something about Spectrum Airwear. Okay, so now we have that all set up, and let's walk out to the regular menu. So now we have AS3X, we have off, and we have safe. Well, that's not turned on because we haven't done forward programming. But let's just reconfirm all our control surfaces first. Elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right. Yaw left, yaw right. Now take off flaps, roll left, roll right. Still working. Landing flaps, roll left, roll right. Elevator, elevator, yaw left, yaw right. Everything's working the same way. We're gonna just double check our compensation. So with takeoff flaperons, this is gonna go up slightly. Then it's gonna go up even more. Okay, now with spoilerons, this is gonna go down. Then it's gonna go down a little bit more. Barely though, okay? Then look, we have the correct movement. So when I roll, this one goes up more and this one comes down, okay? Same thing's working. Now with takeoff flaperons, you can see right, or spoilerons, this is gonna go up and this is gonna go down. So when we wanna roll this way, this one's gonna go up, that one's gonna go down. So it's correct in its orientation. The elevator's gonna work, elevator's gonna work, yaw's gonna work, yaw's gonna work. So the idea is because we have a mix that we're calling out for spoilerons, we have to ensure that all of the conditions are true and we don't have something mixed up in one of those mixes. That would be devastating to the plane's flight performance. You'll probably crash. But it's also hard to do that. So if you make a big mistake, you want to catch it now, not when you're trying to fly. Okay, remember, spoilerons are supposed to be easy. They're really not when you have spoilerons and flaperons. If you have spoilerons, it's very easy. You just set your flap mode to go up. If you have flaperons, you set them to go down. No big deal. You just do it, right? Well, if you want both, which we have oftentimes done on Brian Phillips RC, you have to add the mixes. That's where it gets complicated. Okay, all right, so that's all been understood. Now that we have everything set up, we can do this real quick install of these covers. These covers are just gonna be stuck on with some double-sided tape that's provided from the manufacturer here. And I wanna just go to the most extreme case that I can create, which it looks like the spoilerons might be the most, because it goes forward the most. I don't think it's gonna really matter, but I just wanna make sure I don't have any binding. See, I'm gonna move. That's the most extreme position it can be in. So now I know where I wanna put that. So all we have to do is take this double-sided tape. Looks like that is cut out there. So it looks like these ones are the ones that are already die stamped and cut. So is that sticky?
Is it sticky on both sides though?
Oh, yeah. See, look. I can just stick this down like that. I'm gonna press on it. Yeah, see that'll pull off?
Okay, gotcha.
And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Oops, except the tape come off that time. The tape came off that time, which is fine. But you see how it's just on the length of that now? Same thing here. So you don't actually need to provide anything here. It's just double-sided tape. And then the backing came off, so I can just peel that. So guys, the most complicated part of this plane is the spoilerons, and you don't even need to set up flaperons, let alone spoilerons. But here on Brian Phillips RC, we firmly believe that the best way to get you guys out of the chair and into the air is to answer the questions that other people aren't answering, which many times comes back to, camera crew, I'm gonna have you hold this so it's all the way over for a moment. Okay. So have somebody hold it, and then you can position this so that you won't impact any of the movement. Okay, so that's all the way over. Okay, let go. Beautiful. Out of the flaperons, back to the spoilerons, or excuse me, back to the flaperons. Yep. Make sure that that does not bind in any condition when you mount it, okay? I probably should have been over just a hair, but I was trying to make room for this nut in the spoileron configuration. See that? Now it's gonna miss, okay? Make sense? So now to do the other side, I'm gonna see if we can get lucky and have this peel off the way I want. It's kind of nice when it comes off on here, but it's just not wanting to behave. So I'll try down here. No, it's just gonna come off on the tape. No big deal. We'll stick that down. This is painted, by the way. I don't know if you guys could tell that from looking at the bottom of that. Jigged and painted. Okay, so we got that stuff there, and it's kind of double-sided tape, so I'll just roll that front edge over so it doesn't stick out and be ugly. Now, same thing, camera crew is gonna hold this to the right, and I'm gonna stick this down, make sure that I keep freedom of movement all the way to the outside perimeter. Perfect paint match to the paint on the wings. Okay, so as you can see, now we have the plane fully assembled, fully complete, with all the bells and whistles, and it's just ready for forward programming. Now, forward programming is actually really easy, but the idea is you wanna make sure that all your weird wing type choices are vetted and working, okay? So now the other thing is, because this plane doesn't have gear, we gotta make sure we can set it level. I don't know if you have to use a plane stand for something like this. You could probably just set it on some pillows or something, but you will eventually have to have it level to capture a level attitude during safe first time setup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this out. This Robot plane stand is a great plane stand. We've had pretty good luck with it over the years. But as you can see, this plane is too small, so I have to put this up on end. And you're thinking, yours doesn't adjust like that. Why is yours so easy? You gotta put some baby powder on there, and it will make it a lot easier to adjust. And whatever position you put this in during this step is gonna be how safe tries to fly, okay? So you see how it's not quite low enough? So you wanna position the plane where, like, I'm not really worried about the prop starting right now, but you might wanna be careful about that if you get into a situation where it wants to try to start. That'd be pretty devastating right now in that plane stand, okay? So now that it's in the plane stand, like I said, if you don't have a plane stand, you can just use pillows to get it level. Elevator up, elevator down, yaw left, yaw right, roll right, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, at full deflection. We still have the correct roll, we still have elevator, we still have rudder. And then with spoilerons, geez, having it up here makes me think we need to put that mix back up a little bit. Mixing this one from the -60. We'll go up just a little bit more. We'll go to like 90. Okay, good. Yeah, okay, that seems pretty close. All right, guys, so now we need to go into forward programming. So we'll just scroll down to forward programming. We're connecting, gyro settings, first time setup. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever, next. Set the model level, press continue. This is not where it learns its position. This is where it learns its physical position in the plane. Okay, set it on its nose and hit continue. So I gotta pick up the plane, put it on its nose. This is just to help it learn what position you mounted it, okay? So you see that? Look, does that look pretty close? Mm-hmm. So the pins would be going forward. So let's go ahead and look inside and see if that's right. Here, look at the picture. Does that look the same?
Yep.
Does it?
Yeah.
Can you see both on the same
Yes.
screen? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that is ready to rock and roll. Now we can get this set back down. I'll double check if that's level. Remember, if it's not level and safe, it's not gonna fly level when you turn safe mode on, but I'm not gonna be flying in safe most of the time. So we'll just hit continue, that's orientation 6. Gain channel select. Okay, so we want the rotary knob, which is aux 3. Okay, so this is one of the areas where the guy I was helping had all sorts of problems. This is the channel. This is the auxiliary. It has nothing to do with each other. This is a label. This is another label. This is the channel in order, the number, okay? So highlight, inhibit, you can exercise. You'll notice it doesn't work. So you got to scroll over to rotary knob. And then that's the input. It's already been set. You can set that in this menu if you want, but I would just as soon set it in channel assign where you're actually setting it. So now we'll apply. You'll listen for it's rebooting. One set of dance, okay? So now we'll click. We'll go back into gyro settings rather. First time safe setup. You can do that first, or you can set up your F mode first. I like setting this up first, FM channel. And then this is where we're gonna choose whatever this is. So I'm gonna click this and I'm gonna see if I can exercise. It says aux1D. That is not correct, right?
Right.
You wanna know why? Because look, it's actually aux4, okay? And then hit next. Now look, when you move this, it's gonna change. If that doesn't change, you didn't get it right. Go back into the aux mode, to the FM channel rather, and change it. Okay, so I want AS3X active here, I want it inactive here, and I want it active here with safe, which we're about to set up. Okay, now it just shows you what mode you're in. Okay, walk back. First time safe setup. FM channel, it's already been set. So next, continue. We're gonna set up safe in this mode. See how it's not changed? I'm hitting back. Ooh, we lost connection. That's why I didn't do it. Okay, so gyro settings, first time safe setup, we'll have to start again. FM channel, aux4, that's correct. Hit continue. See how it says flight mode 1? Now it updated to 3. That's how I could tell we lost connection, okay? So flight mode 3 is where we want AS3X and safe. And this is where it's gonna level, we're gonna level the model and capture the attitude that we wanna demonstrate in flight, okay? So hold on, I gotta sneeze. Okay, so now that we have this nice and level, I can go level, model, and capture attitude. And it looks like we have it right at 0. So I'm gonna do it one more time just to see. Okay, good. So you can make adjustments from there. Okay, so in this mode, I have safe mode says inhibit. I wanna change that to self-level with angle demand. And I'm gonna crank these up to like 75 for roll. we'll just go to like 75 for all of them. I don't know why they limit it so much, because it makes it really hard to fly when you've got such tight restrictions on what you can do in safe, okay? But at the same time, I don't fly in safe. I don't need it anymore, which is great. Okay, you can see that disappears. It doesn't matter because it's off at this point. See, it's off. It says inhibited. And it's off, but our audio event's still happening to tell us we're in AS3X. Okay, pretty cool, right? So now hit next. Now it's gonna dance twice. Oh, I gotta hit apply. Sorry guys, click on the apply. One dance, two dances. That tells you that safe is active, but not necessarily on. It happens to be on. So I'll click gyro settings, system setup. This is where you would, if you change something, you would relearn servo settings, orientation, gain channel setup, we don't want to mess with. Hand launch assist might be kind of nice. You can turn it on, and it would be in a certain F mode. So I don't want to screw with that because it's not absolutely necessary, but you can turn it on if you want. And that would be just in flight mode 3 actually. So I guess it's not too bad. We've already got a flight mode. So flight mode 3, threshold for throttle 1.5, seems low. Oh, throttle G's. Yeah, so the threshold for G's. So you have to have a certain G force for it to do. And then the threshold for throttle is 70% throttle. So if you're giving it 70% throttle and you just threw it, then that's how it's gonna know. And the duration is gonna be 2 for 2 seconds with a pitch offset of an additional 10. So we'll go to 15, okay? That's just pretty cool. All right, so now let's test everything. First of all, we're in safe right now. I'm gonna go to AS3X. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. Everything's working. But let's see if AS3X works. Don't be surprised if it doesn't. It doesn't. Why? Because we haven't given throttle. I'm gonna go out of throttle cut. Holy crap, throttle cut's on. Look, now it's working. I can see the rudder moving. I can see the elevator moving. I can see that aileron move, and I can see this aileron move. But we gotta make sure they're moving in the right directions. The camera crew is gonna bring the camera over here. I'm gonna turn this knob, this rotary knob, all the way up and just watch. All the way up. 50%, all the way down, same movement, 50%, 100%, off, on. Put that back to 50%. That means that whatever, if you're at 1x in the gyro setup, then it's gonna be 1x at fully up and 0 at all the way down. So if you know you need more, you can go to a higher setting. So now camera crew is gonna hand me the camera. I'm gonna show you how to check the direction of travel. So I'm gonna move this and look at that elevator. Elevator's going away. It's resisting movement. So as I move this way, it's resisting. It's trying to stop the movement. It's trying to arrest the movement on the elevator now. Here, you can even put it sideways if it makes it easier to see. It's still going to know what position it's in. Now ailerons, up, down. Now aileron, up and down. Now watch this. We have to turn our flaps on. Okay, so we'll go to full landing flaps so it's easier to see. As they're down, as it still go up, it still goes down. It still goes up, it still goes down. Still goes up, still goes down. Elevator still goes up, still goes down. Yaw still goes left, still goes right. So you can see, and we'll just show you, when I turn on spoiler-ons, I wanna make sure this works. So it's gonna jump all the way quick without a delay. So there's spoiler-ons. Does it still go up? Does it still go down? Yes, it does. Still goes up, still goes down. If you can't see, touch it. Feel your roll, roll. Okay, roll, roll. So it goes up, it goes down. Elevator up, elevator down. Yaw left, yaw right. Everything's working regardless of the direction of travel. So in flaperons, if I roll this up, that should still adjust down. Yep. Yep, every time I roll up, this is gonna resist by going the same direction I'm trying to move it. So if I roll this wing up, it's gonna push into my hand. Yep. Yep. Now I can roll down, it's gonna push the other way. It's gonna go down further and down further. Very good. Yaw further. Yep, everything's working. So all the directions of travel work, which is really good. The correction works. Now, let's go ahead and come out of flaps and let's go to safe. So Here's off and then safe. So it's gonna act exactly the same. So we check our surfaces for AS3X movement. And then look, put it up on upside down. It's gonna find the quickest route to level. So if you go to halfway, it's gonna resist. It's gonna try to go level like this until it gets level. Now that's on the roll axis. Now let's look at the pitch axis. So when you tip the plane up like this, it's gonna try to bring the plane level until it's at this attitude, and it's gonna try to bring it level, and it's at this attitude. But there is no yaw correction beyond AS3X, okay? So everything's working there. Now we have to test, because we have flaperons and spoilerons, we have to test both features. So full landing flaperons, I wanna see how it does for correction. Still tries to find this path to get the level, and levels out, good. Now elevator, still tries to level it, good. Now spoilerons, okay? Everything looks good, it's nice and level. We're upside down, it's gonna try to find the quickest route. Hold on, is it the quickest? That would roll this until it's level. See, it's kind of confusing with the flaperons
With the
and spoilerons.
spoilerons up, it's weird.
Okay, so now watch that elevator. When I switch from flaperons to spoilerons, that elevator correction will flip. See? Pretty cool. So guys, we got everything set up on this plane that can be set up that makes sense. We have flaperons, we have spoilerons, we have AS3X, and we have safe. Most people are gonna want AS3X, and that's it. You don't have to set up safe, you don't have to set up flaperons, and it would be considerably easier. By the way, I didn't notice this before, but look at this awesome exit hole. For all that hot air that's gonna be blown out of there, this thing looks and feels really good. So I'm super excited about it. Obviously with Hobby King, we've got some new stuff coming out, and I just love the fact that this thing is gonna be fast and it's gonna be furious, and it feels well built. It's got lots of rigidity. It's got that denser foam that we're not used to. And by the way, plastic wrapped all the way around the wingtips on the bottom portion because it's a belly lander. And then right here, plastic, and then plastic. This is foam. This is plastic all the way around, and it comes all the way up to the top. And then all these connection points, it's just really well built, which is generally not what we would say about Durafly products, okay? So they have really tried to steer the ship in a different direction, and I think they're doing a good job, so I'm super excited about it. Now, if you need more stabilizer gain on your Ford programming, just jump back in, and you can go to gyro gains. So gyro settings, AS3X settings, AS3X gains, and you can change this all the way up to as high as 4X, okay? So now watch how insane this is. All the way turned up, look at the rudder. You can see it really good. Elevator, really good. Ailerons, really good. Off, on, which is insane. That's a ton of stabilizer. So I want to change that back to 1X, okay? Fixed adjustable gains, they're all adjustable in mode 1, they're off in mode 2, and they're adjustable in mode 3. You can change that if you want, but I wouldn't. And then the default gains is where we like to run them at first, okay? So if the plane starts humping air, see it's off and then it's back on. If it starts humping air because you have too much gain and it starts doing this, first thing you can do is turn off your stabilizer. The second thing you could do is you can turn down the master gain, but that turns all 3 axes down. If this is the only porpoising you're getting from a self-induced or a plane-induced or a stabilizer-induced oscillation, turn it down until that oscillation stops, or slow down the plane a little bit until you can get it on the ground, make an adjustment, and then you would change the amount of elevator gain or pitch axis gain. So instead of being 50, you might put it to 40, okay? See if that takes care of it. Remember, those gains at full amplitude are gonna be a factor of, you know, those 3 values. So if you're 40, 50, and 60, that's a factor amplitude of master gain, okay? Yes, you can make them adjustable on different sliders. Like right slider could be pitch, left slider could be yaw. This could be elevator. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can set it however you want, but I would not do that. It's way too much dinking around in the air. You're not gonna want it that way. You're just gonna wanna have one gain and you're probably not going to mess with it much ever. And that's the idea, is when I go from model to model, I know that I want to start out at about 50%. Remember, the way we set these models up, we're setting them up to demo them 1, 2, 3 flights. Then we might not fly it again for 7, 8 months or something like that, till we get a nice weather day or something like that for a second thoughts flight. But that's very different from the average ordinary setup. So remember, anything we do on this channel in the Unbox Build Radio setup is to help get you guys out of the chair and into the air. So we're gonna try to help you find the most generic start and entry point, but not necessarily every possible feature, because you do a million cool things with this. We set up the flaperons and the spoilerons, which is pretty cool, but like most people don't need that, okay? Remember, just going from this to that was complicated. You could set just this up if you like that, and it would be just a matter of setting up the flat mode. It'd be very easy. But the mix integrates even more complexity. The reason I love AS3X is that it does all that crap in forward programming. And years ago, we would have had to do so much manual stuff to make it happen. So that's why we love it. And AS3X Plus is just a little bit more tight, a little bit more refined, and it's just really does a good job. So you'll enjoy it if you get it. The Rare Bear from Durafly looks great. Hope it flies half as good as it looks when it went together, because it's gonna be a good plane and I'm super excited to fly it. Get yours, links in the video description below. They'll probably go pretty fast, I'm guessing, because they're a good price, and just with all the weird economy things going on with the trade wars, I think it's gonna tend to be a good seller. Also with timer, that's the only thing we didn't really set on this plane. I don't know what the timer should be, to be frank, but I'm assuming it's not gonna be a super long flight, so I'm gonna set it to 5 minutes to start with a one-time active of 25% or more. That's the threshold where it starts the timer. I want Clear to be able to reset it. At 1 minute, I want a voice. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, excuse me, at 10 seconds, I want voice. And then expiration, I want tone and vibrate with a tone every minute thereafter. So throttle cuts on. When I start the timer, it starts counting down. At 5 minutes, it elapses, and then it counts beyond that, so we can get a good feel for how much flight time we should expect from a 2200 4S. Now remember, they suggest 1800 to 2200 milliamp hours. So if you want to do a smaller pack, you can do that. I think this thing's going to tend to do good with a bigger pack, just because it's going to get your CG just about perfect. If you have a smaller battery, it is going to be further forward, but in terms of the mass of this plane, the 2200 seems to be a really good size class. Now, if you have a cheaper or more inferior battery that's heavier for the same amount of performance, which is true of a lot of dumb packs, you may have to go to a smaller pack to get the center of gravity exactly spot on. Because I felt like that was spot on at the bulkhead, right? Don't you think? That's firewall. So beautiful, guys. Really good job on the Rare Bear from Hobby King. Guys, thanks for watching Brian Phillips RC. If you want to learn more about other products we've reviewed in the past, look no further than brianphillipsrc.com or bprc.me. If you don't know how to spell Brian and Phillips, you could do that. You can also follow links in the video description below to buy this plane, the battery that we used, which was a 2200 4S, 50C pack from Spectrum, as well as the AR630 because of the end pins and just a good fit generally. I mean, look how nice it looks inside of here. That is a beautiful setup, really clean, really easy setup. And I think it's gonna be great. Just a little bit of shelf liner is all we added to the bells and whistles that came out of the package with this plane, and a little bit of China glue to make it easier to mount that and the receiver. So at the end of the day, we're here to serve the RC community by giving you guys the no BS, full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God, so you can make a good decision when you're buying your next RC product. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash the like button and click the bell when you do subscribe so that you get notified of new content, which is right around the corner, and we're gonna be bringing it very soon. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll do our best to get to them, but we have a huge community of followers that will help you guys if you have questions if we don't get to you in time. And so we hope that we will have answered most of your questions in this video, but there's always some random thing. By the way, if you do ask questions, timestamp them so that I know what the heck you're talking about, because I do not remember every video. We have thousands of videos. I'm not exaggerating. We're close to 3,000 videos. Some are 10 plus hours long, okay? I do not remember every stupid thing I said. I probably said a lot.
I do.
She does. But that being said, the Rare Bear is awesome. I think you guys will enjoy it. I can't wait to fly it. Should be flying it tomorrow if the weather permits. And we're gonna get this thing published as soon as possible so you guys can make your decision before the other guy that ordered it before you. Other ways to support Brian Phillips RC that are super easy, but also well appreciated by Brian Phillips and our whole crew here, which is a family affair, is support via Patreon for monthly supporters. There's also monthly support from members on YouTube. Thanks for being members, guys. And then YouTube super thanks. If you want to throw us $5, but you're not buying this plane because your wife threatened to leave you could always just get it delivered to the back door. And then also we have PayPal, right? PayPal for one-time donations. And somebody asked for a P.O. box. So we have a P.O. box on the website if you want to send like a check in the mail, stuff like that. We really, I only list that stuff because people ask all the time. So we want to say it out loud so people hear it. We receive those gifts willingly and happily. But also at the end of the day, we still firmly believe the better way to support Brian Phillips RC is by watching, smashing the like button, buying the products that you really enjoy is the best way to support this product, this hobby, Brian Phillips RC. It just kind of spreads a little bit wider. If you send us $20, we do appreciate it. But at the end of the day, if you buy a plane and we make a small commission, you know, everybody wins then. Okay, so that's kind of what we prefer if there is a way to do it. Plus then your RC budget is going to you and us. Everybody wins in that equation. These guys are happy, we're happy, you're happy. You get a good product, you get a product that we vetted to make sure it's not garbage. They sell a product, you get a product in your door, okay? If you support us financially with gifts of support through Patreon and members and super thanks and P.O. box checks and things like that, we do benefit and we really do appreciate it. But at the end of the day, we still think the best way is just buy awesome stuff when you're going to buy it anyway. Okay, so just save the dollars and cents up, put them together, spend $500 on a transmitter, you know, because it's a lot of money for everybody. And by the way, with tariffs and stuff going into force, just remember, I firmly believe that things are going to settle out here pretty quick. In fact, China's come back to the table. It sounds like they're going to pretty much fix a lot of the stuff that's happening right now. And so hopefully there was a giant tidal wave of nothingness that's going to hit our hobby. Which reminds me of other times with like remote ID and things like that we thought was like the sky is falling. And to be honest, that was a pretty scary one. Speaking of remote ID, if you want a remote ID in this thing, you can integrate a remote ID module from this receiver if you're not flying it at FRIA. And by the way, we also found out our FRIA, we're allowed 1,200 feet now, which is pretty cool. They just increased the rules on that. So if you're flying an FAA recognized identification area, you shouldn't actually need to fly with a remote ID, but if you're flying outside of that, like at the park or whatever, and you want to be fully legal and compliant, you could put one of these in. This is expensive though, but you can carry this from plane to plane for recreational purposes, and then you can use your own battery, or you can just plug it in and steal power from the receiver or one of the X-Bus ports. And we have a video about that if you're curious, or you can just get one of these. It's like $30, self-contained battery, everything, very simple, turn it on. That way the Karens can call and tell on you and stuff. I don't know why. I'm not gonna keep talking about that.
That's good because the battery's gonna die.
So guys, that's all we got for you. Hopefully we answered all your questions and many, many, many more. But here on Brian Phillips RC, we're not gonna leave you high and dry. We're gonna get you in the air, out of the chair as soon as possible so you can find and enjoy this wonderful hobby with Brian Phillips. Don't live vicariously through Brian Phillips. Do it yourself. Get out there, do it today. Guys, there's never been a better time to start than right now. Thanks for watching. Come back for more.